Even though we are pitch white. Legends. Setting it up real quick. Just fiddling with. All right, I think we are ready. Good to go. Testing all of my trinkets. All of my scoreboard, but uh-oh. Wait. Testing my scoreboard buttons. Okay. I actually need... Well, you know what? I think we're good. I think we're good, buddy. Yes, sir. All right. Quality's excellent. Looks like the audio's coming in good. We're going to test this video stuff.
He might have to go to YouTube.
Anyway, is legally typically centered around marriage.
I am sending it out through his YouTube's.
All right, we're going to be playing in 1.25 speed. We're going to get straight to the debate. I got my learning language model on the left, just in case we need a little bit of help with our arguments. We're going to go through this debate. This is how I predict it's going to happen. Now, granted, I have a bias because I have been debating recently. So when it comes to who I think is going to win the debate, I think it's going to be Andrew, just because Andrew's just a better debater. I do think Coach Greg, he's very charismatic. He's going to be funny. But I don't know if that's going to hold a lot of weight here or too much in comparison to the arguments. Hey, look, last time Coach Greg had a debate about marriage, and it was basically like red pill versus white pill, which is what we see now. Andrew's a white pill, Greg is a red pill. Last time it was a debate like this, it was against him and somebody by the name of Hafiz. Hafiz was a podcaster slash influencer who came out of the group The Roommates, who had a YouTube channel, and they basically talked about self-improvement, dating, etc. Even Hafiz had his own channel, but he basically promoted marriage a lot. He would have people on his show like Coach Greg. He would have Coach. No, I don't think he ever had Coach on, but he had like Alpha AMS, Kevin Samuels, other dating coaches, even Jordan Peterson. He's interviewed. I don't know where Hafiz is now, but he had a debate with Coach Greg Adams on Patrick Bet-David's podcast subsidiary. I think it was the Saucecast with some white dude. I forget the guy's name, but Coach Greg Adams kind of won. I think he kind of won the debate against Hafiz the last time. So I don't think it's going to go Coach Greg Adams' way this time, because Hafiz, the way he argues is a little bit wordy, not as direct. Andrew is very direct. He's like a freaking bulldog. He likes to corner people in arguments. Coach Greg Adams is very elusive, from what I remember from the last debate. So we have the counter set up top. I'm just going to explain the counter real quick. The arguments is going to be, hey, look, I want the way I'm trying to see who won, or where we can get an idea of who won, is who presented the arguments the most. And we're not just talking about re-presenting an argument. We're talking about new arguments. But then on top of that, the second metric, which is rebuttals. Rebuttals are very important in arguments, because if you have a position and it's being attacked, you have to rebut it. Or if you are defending a position, or if you're attacking a position and it's being swatted down, you have to reattack. So we would call both of those rebuttals. Responses to arguments are just as important as the arguments themselves, because it's like jousting, or it's like fencing. If I'm going to cut you, hey, I'm going to deflect that, and I'm going to bring it back on you. So the next one we are going to call fallacies. Fallacies is an obvious one. I think I might throw an ad hominem counter in there. I'm thinking about it. But those are fallacies. All the fallacies are going to go in that box or in that counter. If you have a fallacy on you, this basically erodes your position. The more fallacies you have, the worse off you're going to look. And it's hard to gauge that when you're in the middle of the argument, but that's why we're keeping track of all these things. So I think if I'm going to continue this type of reaction, I'll probably start implementing and getting more concise with how we're going to score these things. But for now, if you guys catch any fallacies or if I'm missing anything on the scoreboard, let me know. Within 20 to 30 seconds to a minute of you hearing it, if I don't catch it. All right, so we're gonna start now. If the audio is good, or if it's not, let me know in the chat, and then I'll try and fix it.
AKA the free agent lifestyle. We're going to talk about today, is marriage worth it for men in the West? So let's get into some opening statements. Who wants to start off?
Yeah, man.
Is marriage worth it in the West? I'll put that in the description, basically. Is marriage worth it in the West? We'll have to do that. Debate topic. Is marriage worth it in the West? Andrew, affirmative position. Greg, negative. My bad, my G. Coach Greg. Gotta put some respect on it. All right, we're gonna keep going. I probably didn't need to pause. My bad. All right.
Marriage is a great institution. It was an institution that built the community of America. Most of the better communities that have safety, good children, good schools are typically centered around marriage. However, marriage has not progressed to the point where men could be safe legally, and a lot of men have experienced tremendous damage, collateral damage as a result, and it has led to broken families, a lot of broken hearts, simply because the laws are not positioned to benefit both people in a divorce.
So that sounds to me like that's one argument brought forth. Basically, that marriage has become a worse institution because of the marriage or the divorce laws. And let me just run that through, or not run it, but let me just run that through the debate topic. Is marriage worth it in the West? I don't think he made an argument for why it's not. I think that is an argument for why it's not, because, yeah.
Therefore, you have no-fault divorce. You have opportunities for women to use the courts against men. And as a result, men have seen 1, 2, and 3 generations of men getting harmed, their grandfathers, their fathers, their uncles, their brothers getting harmed by this. So Generation Z men are not positioning themselves for a positive marriage. So at this particular point, if someone asked me, would I recommend marriage for them, and they were in a certain position in life, they weren't established, I would say no. There's no benefit for the person to get married today.
Got it. Your response, Andrew?
Yeah, I didn't hear any anti-marriage arguments. I heard anti-divorce arguments. So I'm with you on divorce, 100%.
Stream over.
And
But you agree.
But it's a good thing that.
Wait a minute. So he's pro-marriage, but anti-divorce. So that's not it. So basically, I guess I wouldn't count that then. But I don't know. I think I will count that. I'm just going to count it.
The topic isn't on divorce, it's on marriage. And it seems.
Oh, well, you know what? We'll take it off then. But if you guys think I should add it again, let me know, because I'm.
Seems like you agree with my proposition then. And the proposition is that marriage, quote, is a great institution.
Yep.
And that right now your concern is that men can't be safe in marriage, but that's not actually what you're saying. You're not saying men can't be safe in marriage. They can. You're saying that they may not be safe in divorce. So I have a counter proposition for you. My counter proposition is, what if it's the case that you can use religious marriage institutions without the state? And then we add the ecclesiastical structure of the marriage. That's what always kept them together anyway, before the state was ever involved. So what if instead we use the ecclesiastical church, the structure of the old churches, so that would be Catholicism and Orthodoxy, where you see the lowest divorce rates, because the community puts pressure on the women to act right. That's what they do. Right now, the state applies no pressure on women to act right? You can just go and file whatever you want, get a divorce, and go be banging the neighbor by the next night. We totally agree on that. But to say that we should abandon marriage is silly. It seems like you're completely pro-marriage. You're just anti-divorce. So why wouldn't you just throw your weight behind institutions where the divorce rate is the least, and you have an ecclesiastical structure which can be appealed to assist with that? That's what makes no sense to me.
My response to that is, if we're fifths, we beat all drunk. All right.
I don't know what that means. If we're fifths, we'd be all drunk. If anybody could. If we're fifths, we'd be all drunk. What does that mean? This. The saying is a commentary on hypothetical situations and means that if you constantly dwell on ifs, there would be endless opportunities to drink. All right, well, that's a proverb, but is that an argument? Let's see if he adds some premises to that. We'll give him that. But that's a rebuttal. So let's see.
So that's a scenario that just isn't present.
Can you
in
explain
today's-
the analogy for me?
Well, if we use if, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. If we say if we have a situation where this is present, then this would work.
Well, let me just step back. I think just in fairness, we're going to add an argument for Coach because that's his rebuttal. But we're going to also give him a rebuttal. So I'm thinking as the I wonder if I should add rebuttals in the arguments. Because a rebuttal is oftentimes an argument. F it, we're just going to keep it how it is now. We're going to give Andrew an argument first as well because his opening statement was in response. It was kind of like it was a proposition basically saying, hey, look, why don't we mitigate the risk of marriage or a divorce? And this is how we can make marriage worth it in the West by mitigating divorce. So let's continue.
Well, that makes sense. If we had that,
We
it
do
would
have it
work.
right.
Drunk. All right. So that's a scenario that just isn't present.
Can you
in
explain
today's-
the analogy for me?
Well, if we use if, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. If we say if we have a situation where this is present, then this would work. Well, that makes sense. If we had that,
We
it
do
would
have it
work.
right now.
Well, it doesn't necessarily work because, and I'm going to tell you why,
Okay.
because a woman can go to a divorce attorney and they can simply just say, hey, listen, it was a off the cuff, off the state divorce, but you got married within a certain state or she filed in a certain state. So therefore the divorce goes on.
No,
Absolutely.
okay.
Yes.
Well,
Listen, I've been with the divorce attorneys and what they'll tell you is, hey, listen, you can get married in a ritual. You can get married in the orthodoxy. You can get married off record. But if she files and that woman is hell bent on saying we got married, I don't care if it was a ceremony where we walked on coals with our feet bare, that's considered a marriage. You also have common law. You have a lot of other ways for that woman to establish marriage.
How does
And
your
at-
way eliminate common law?
All right. So he mentioned, Greg is basically saying, hey, look, this divorce situation is actually larger than you think, and it spans even the conventional understanding of marriage. Marriage is not only a agreement between the government and the state, but its legal jurisdiction can also surpass that. Even if they're just doing a ritual, the woman can still, if she wants a divorce, can say, hey, look, we were married. So I'm going to leave that as his one argument because, well, no, we're going to add that. We're going to add that because that's his argument. That's a really well fleshed out argument. But now Andrew's making a rebuttal. I want to see if his rebuttal is going to be fleshed out.
I don't have any way to eliminate common law.
So
what
then-
I have is a way for men to avoid
Well, then the
being
argument's
used.
silly.
No, the argument's not silly. So here's what you have. You have a if proposition, which doesn't exist for most men. Most men aren't religious. Most men aren't looking to be under a religious orthodoxy. So it doesn't apply. So you're taking a moral standard or a religious standard to apply to people who aren't under that veil.
So let's start with a couple of things you said which are fundamentally untrue. Most men are religious, in fact, including in this country. Most of them, not some of them.
But they're not religious.
Hang on. I didn't interrupt. I didn't interrupt.
I understand, but let me just take that point.
All right, well, this is Andrew's rebuttal. We're gonna go with
Most aren't under your religion.
Okay,
We can agree with that.
So here's the thing, though. But Catholicism and Orthodoxy is growing rapidly, and if it's the case,
Oh snap! I got a message. I got a message. How do we pop out this damn chat, bruh? I wish I could make this thing always on top. Moderation helps people stay safe. Shut up. Reactions, send feedback. Yo, glad to see you go live. Thanks, G. So right before, man, interrupts. I probably should have tallied interrupts. I didn't think about that until now. But maybe I should do that next time. We'll see.
case that the ecclesiastical structure is already there, which it is, right? If you're going to cohabitate,
Let me just go back a little bit.
Under your, they're not religious.
hang on. Most men are religious, in fact, including in this country. Most of them, not some of them.
But they're not religious.
Hang on. I didn't interrupt.
I understand, but let me just take that point. Most aren't under your religion.
Okay,
we can agree with that.
So here's the thing, though. But Catholicism and Orthodoxy is growing rapidly, and if it's the case that the ecclesiastical structure is already there, which it is, right? If you're going to cohabitate with a woman, the thing that you're offering right now is common law marriage anyway. If there's cohabitation at all, you're not protecting anybody from that. At least under my model, it gives an ecclesiastical structure that's designed to prevent divorce by applying community pressure. That was the way it was always done. But
So Andrew, originally Coach said, hey, look, it doesn't necessarily matter if you're talking about church marriages, because if you're walking on your feet on coal and that's the ritual you decide to be into marriage, the state still has jurisdiction, because if the lady wants to get divorced or she wants to file some action against you, you're still under the scrutiny of the court. You still have to defend yourself if she brings that suit towards you in court. But Andrew's saying, hey, look, let's get in front of that and have the church kind of maybe socially engineer a way for them to not get divorced in the first place. So it's kind of like a bulwark in front of the woman's decision.
apply the application of community pressure within the confines of the woman's social circle. Right now, do you agree with me, for instance, that many divorces happen because women like to yap? So you get a freshly divorced woman, and she's free. You go, girl. Girl power. And she starts talking to her little friends, and she starts telling them how liberating it is and how great it is and this and that. And this is why when women have divorced friends, their likelihood of divorce actually rapidly increases. It's for this reason.
Divorce is contagious.
So if it's the case that the social contagion is eliminated,
so
because
he's
now we
agreeing.
have an ecclesiastical structure, an ecclesiastical authority, which won't grant it because you get ostracized from that social group through excommunication, for instance, or not being able to participate anymore with that community. That's an application of a serious and significant social pressure, which can do the very thing you want. Bring back that great institution.
All right, so this isn't just a rebuttal, it's also an argument, because he's explaining, hey, look, we can, as I suspected, we can have the church step in front of that to do some type of social engineering or ostracization. Ostracization. So we're going to add another argument here for Andrew.
Absent the state, and it avoids this whole problem of common law marriage, because if it's the case that you can be common law married anyway inside of a state, and they can get grounds for divorce on that anyway, then we actually need to have some social pressures to prevent them from doing that. So it sounds like we agree marriage is awesome for men. Divorce is terrible for them. So it seems like we should be attacking the divorce structure here, and it doesn't seem like you actually have anything to do that other than just avoid the thing that's great for you.
All right, so this is another argument. He's explaining, hey, look, you and I are in agreement that the that divorce is bad, but marriage is good. So let's work on mitigation. I think he actually did that argument already.
Because this other bad side effect could happen.
Sure, that's
so
like
why don't
smoking
we,
cigarettes.
So why don't we attack the bad side effect when we have the mechanism to do it? It's not if, we can do it now.
Okay, so like smoking cigarettes is the same analogy you're saying. Okay, here.
All right, that's his rebuttal. Smoking cigarettes is the same analogy. Maybe I should add more scrutiny to these rebuttals, but let's just see. All right.
Cigarettes in this situation, we obviously know it has negative side effects, so you would avoid it. Now, here's the issue that I have with it. It sounds great on paper, but we can't travel to the land of make-believe. It sounds great. The majority of people probably wouldn't do it. And if you ask a guy, which this is an important part, they're not even prepared to even talk about that. They don't even know what divorce laws are. So you're asking them to travel to the land of make-believe under a marriage system that small percentage of people use. No one uses it today. You might have said they used it to the past. Today, that doesn't exist. So we can't travel to the land of make-believe to make marriage work for you.
We can't travel to the land of make-believe to make marriage work for you because most people don't know how to navigate marriage resolutions through the church. I think that's his argument.
Laws are. So you're asking them to travel to the land of make-believe under a marriage system that small percentage of people use. No one uses it today. You might have said they used it to the past. Today, that doesn't exist. So we can't travel to the land of make-believe to make marriage work for you.
I'm gonna give Coach a rebut. It's either that or an argument. No, this is an argument because he's in the negative. He's in the negative. We're gonna give him another point because Coach is basically saying, look, not only do people not know about divorce laws, the men that are getting divorced, they don't even. There's such a small percentage of church people that are in that system you're talking about. So, all right, let's see. Dude, the video is going to be 7 hours with the amount of pauses. Let them. Well, if you want to go to another channel and watch the debate yourself, you can do that. You're free to do that.
It might work.
So this is a review. So if you don't want to stay for the review, then just leave.
Your marriage, but it doesn't work for the greater structure.
Your argument here contradicts itself because
there's another
on one hand,
rebuttal.
you say men don't know enough about marriage, but my assumption is that your mission is to let men know about marriage.
Absolutely.
Okay, well then I don't understand how it's the land of make believe if you can let them know about this, but I can't.
Sure.
Right. So
you can offer that.
So if I
You can offer
am,
that.
it sounds like I'm offering a real alternative to what you're offering, and here's what you're offering: men, marriage is great. It's a great institution. It's the best for children. These are your words. In marriage, right? Men seem to thrive. Their health seems to thrive. Everything seems to thrive. You're saying, well, the problem is that divorce rates are high, and they are. However, there's a few things there that you haven't covered. One, it depends on demographic too. For instance,
Absolutely.
if you're black, it's going to be way worse than if you're white.
Correct.
Okay, way worse.
Demographics are
and
important.
Also, socioeconomics matters, right? Demographics in general matter. So you can do a lot, actually, including prenuptial agreements. You can have a prenuptial agreement with the ecclesiastical authority without the state even involved, and it seems like that would mitigate your risk to damn near nothing.
You said if about 50 times
So did
today.
you.
So more mitigation premises. Let's see. If we're fifths, if it's alcohol size, we will all be drunk. I don't think it works in the nuance of the conversation, though. Yeah, I looked it up, and it's basically like if we're fifth, basically if we're constantly speculating on what we can do, then we'll never actually get anything done. I guess.
Now, here's what I'm telling you. I'm
So
telling
did
you
you.
when, all right, we're already in this system. You're going outside of the system to create a scenario for me to argue
What
against.
system are you going outside of?
You're going outside the system? How? Because I didn't really. That's an assertion. I didn't get any evidence.
We're talking about marriage is typically done with the state.
Okay.
Almost everyone does it this way.
Typically
so now
is
you're
not-
here's hold on
is
for a
not
second. Hold on for a
must.
second. You've
Typically
moved the
doesn't mean
goalposts.
anything.
You've moved the goalposts to a scenario of if, and you're arguing from
is.
the if. No,
Is.
hold on for a second. You're arguing from the if perspective.
It is perspective.
No, listen.
It is
Give
the
me a
is
chance to
perspective.
listen.
All right. Well, hold on. Because this might be important. Because if Greg is strong a point on a fallacy of moving the goalposts, but I don't think so. I didn't hear any moving the goalposts. Because I don't think Greg was testing. Greg never tested him for metrics in the first place. This is just Andrew pointing to different. I had to look in the. I'm gonna have to ask chat about this because we can do that later. So we'll look that up right now. I'm gonna stamp it for now. 22. Damn it! My daggone.
Listen,
All right,
give
I'll
me a
give you a
chance.
chance.
2213. 2213. Coach says Wilson is moving goalpost. I'm not sure about that one. To my guide. Enjoy talking to yourself, my guy. Deuces. All right, you have a good rest of your day.
You're arguing from a very small percentage point. Now you're saying demographics, and we can talk about that, but you're still trying to get me to argue in your cloud of if. That's the land of make-believe. Most people, by far, are married to the state. Not only that, your land of make-believe still exists, the prenup with the ecclesiastics. You can write whatever you want in that prenup. It only matters in the divorce. That's the reality. So I'm still dealing in reality. You're in the clouds. Hold on for a second. You're in the clouds. So let's take the demographics.
Okay.
In your scenario, it sounds like, which would be fair, your primary concern is with white people.
No, it's with
Hold
all
on for a
people.
second. You said with black people, the demographics, the chance is higher.
Yeah.
So have you discovered the ecclesiastics approach to black people married within this?
Yes.
However, their demographics, economics, which all do affect marriage, has nothing to do in the land of the clouds or the make-believe with ecclesiastics. It's all going to boil down to in the law. And there's no church reverend that's going to go into your household to make sure there's social pressure on your wife. Do you know
yes,
any?
sir. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Do you,
That was like 3 or 4 arguments on top of each other. He touched on the ecclesiastical side, how it's completely separate from a lot of the communities, which is kind of a little bit of a bend from his original claim about how people don't know it. Not only do people not know it, they're divorced from it. And the economics and the law are more of a reality than the church proposition. So we're going to give him an extra one. Now, let's see here.
know any that can cover all marriages? That
Yes.
answer is no.
Yes. And by the way, when you keep
Are we in reality here?
I'm
or are we in
trying-
the clouds?
when
I mean,
you're-
we're
when
not
you're-
we're not arguing
I was
anything
just trying-
legitimate.
I was just
This
trying
is
to-
this is in the land of make believe.
well, when
We
I'm
don't have
allowed to
enough-
respond, let
Okay,
me
give me
know.
a second.
Go
Let
ahead.
me finish this point.
Go ahead.
You're imagining. Your imagination is great. John Lennon would be great. You know, you would be proud of you at this particular point.
But I'm imagining all the people.
You're imagining all the people under a situation and a structure that you brought in here, all right? But the state highly governs this, and the state highly governs divorce. I'm dealing in a reality situation where I'm trying to counsel men to give information to. The best thing you've told me is that you're willing to give men the option to do this. Are they willing to all do this option? The answer is probably not, just like they're not willing to do what I'm telling them to do. However, we're both attempting, which is a good thing. It's noble. However, your situation rarely exists. Can we talk about the reality of what exists?
Sure.
Absolutely. So let's take your moral religious crusade out of it and talk about the reality.
Yeah, let's
Are you
not.
willing to do that?
Yeah, well, here's the thing.
See, you're not willing to do that
Well,
because it's all based on your reality.
Guess what? It's a debate, and I will argue my points from my view, how I see fit, not for you to
But what I'm
govern.
not going to do is
It's
expect
not
to
my
be arguing
government.
from the land of make believe.
Yeah, but it's
okay.
not- you
All
don't-
right. So
okay, yeah,
anybody
my
have
turn, my turn,
Anybody
relax.
have anybody have the sound effect for the television show where the train comes through, Mr. Rogers?
Let me know when
because
you-
I want to be on
let me
the,
know
I
when
want
you
to be
gas
on
out.
Earth.
Yeah, let me know
All
when
right.
you gas
Let's
out.
let Andrew respond.
Yeah, so the thing is it's funny that you bring up Imagine All the People of John Lennon, which is an anti-religious song. And hilariously enough, was designed to assist with female empowerment. Isn't that hilarious? But the thing here is you keep on saying that what I'm offering is make-believe, but it's not. It's been governing the Orthodox and Catholic Church for 2,000 years, including in this country. Now,
Okay.
here, let me give you an example, for instance. The Amish, right? Do you know what the divorce rate is among them? It's almost non-existent, yet they're still governed by the same laws of the land that you're speaking to. So it sounds like if I give a counter, if I say, look, I can give you a way, a methodology, in which you can utilize the religious ecclesiastical institution which has existed for 2,000 years and has right now the lowest divorce rates, right this second as we speak, not in make-believe land, not hundreds of years in the future, right this second, as opposed to the system you have of common law divorce, which is sky high and you can't do anything about it. That's what is true. So pointing out what is true is right now you can have a prenup. That is true. What is true is prenups are usually held up in court. That is true. What is true is that you can have a marriage outside of a state because it's a religious institution anyway. You never have to have a license with the state. It's never been necessary. And if you do, the only way that that can be done is if it's sacramental. And if it's sacramental, it's governed now by the church. That's going to be the community the women are a part of. And so the thing is like, that sounds like a real viable solution. What's yours? More fucking degeneracy? Go out and play the field, hump a lot of chicks? How's that going to help anybody do anything? That's been the progressive mantra for 100 years. Isn't it wonderful?
Basically, he's just responding and adding on top of the fact that your position is actually going to lead more towards the same stuff that we have now. He presented evidence from the certain churches that have better results in marriage, and he's basically explaining what you have on your end is just basically the status quo.
Your turn.
All right, we're returning back to earth. Now, first things first, when it comes to this, back in reality, there's no God in marriage. So, Mr. Sky Daddy, God, religion, that's all great, but there's no God in marriage. At this particular point, when you go through a marriage, if one person decides to not obey the Holy Bible or whatever you're thumping, you have no basis to keep that marriage together. If she decides to leave the church and decides not to listen or excommunicate herself, she's now under the state.
Agree.
Now, when you're getting divorced, which I'm assuming you've been divorced.
Well, I mean, that's a hell of an assumption to make.
Have you been divorced?
I mean,
have you been married?
Can you tell me, if you can tell me how that has any merit?
Give me
to
a
the
second,
debate?
because if you've been through one, you would know that there's no God in the divorce court, in the
I
family
see.
court. There's no God in there. No one asked
There
you.
is the state in there.
There is the state. So that's what we're arguing from.
Yeah,
That's when you get married. So you're telling me if, and I'm telling you, well, this is what's going to happen. Even if you took Sky Daddy into court with you, they would say, you pray to the judge.
How?
The judge is the authority in the court. So the God argument is a nice, interesting argument. And I probably am not going to stay on the conversation very long, because that's your God. That's your Sky Daddy. That's your religion. I have a different religion. So who
What does that
gives you
do with
the,
anything?
listen, who gives you the authority to change the understanding, the conversation to your religion? That's your religion.
I'm not changing the conversation.
Okay,
anything.
so it only
We're
works
talking
if
about-
it only works if you believe in your Sky Daddy. That's the only way it works, and that's the only way you're going to advise men.
Basically, if you don't subscribe to, well, the government's not going to subscribe to it. They're going to hold they're going to claim jurisdiction over your marriage, or as far as your divorce and the proceedings thereof, and you can't really do much about it. So whether you're a Mormon or whatever sect of religion, the court is going to have its way with you, basically. Yeah.
Talking about mitigating risk.
No. We're talking about, can men get into a marriage today? Only under your Sky Daddy. That's what we're assuming.
Okay.
Now, can they do it otherwise?
Yeah, you can have secular marriage.
Okay, go ahead and explain.
Okay, yeah.
Make it work.
I just did.
Make it work.
The argument that you have is that marriage is great. It's a great institution.
We already covered this.
Well, what made it great?
We already covered
What
this.
made it great?
Can we go into why it would make it work for your secular? That's the question
yeah,
I ask you.
but-
You're asking me questions back. Go ahead and
Yeah,
go ahead and
okay,
answer the
so,
question.
So if you're talking about secular marriage, there's never been any point to it.
I'm sorry.
There's never been any
All right, so he's answering the question. So far, they've been able to cross-examine each other relatively okay.
point to secular marriage ever. Never. What would ever be the point of secular marriage? It's always been a religious institution. That's what made it great. Now, when you say it's a great institution, what made it great for secularists, other than the fact that Sky Daddy and God had all these enforcement arms, and those things had to be enforced socially? Like, for instance, men weren't allowed to run away. And women, right, they had to show cause for these divorces. And they had to be good causes. They had to show it for things like infidelity, right? It was all biblically governed. It was all lawfully governed by this Sky Daddy guy you like so little. But that's what made the institution great in the first place. And what you're talking about here, you're making a point that divorce is bad. And yet, I agree, divorce is bad. So what we're really talking about is, how do we mitigate the risk for divorce? And we have two different methods here.
Well, the conversation
method-
is marriage good for men. That's the conversation.
But it is. We already said it's good for men. That's not even a
And
dispute.
now, how do we make it better?
All right, well, I do want to point out perhaps perhaps the entire debate is kind of won already if Greg is going to agree here. Maybe he didn't understand the prompt. Maybe he doesn't do a lot of debates, but there's a strict technicality to the way debates work, and if you're on the negative position, you can't give ground, or else you lose the debate. So, if you're going to concede to that, then the conversation is going somewhere else. So obviously, we can talk about that debate, but if you're going to agree with him and they're going to be in agreement, that's a concession on the negative position, meaning the affirmative wins.
They're avoiding
Well,
it.
it
Since
sounds
men or women
like
are avoiding it.
It sounds like the thing that you think makes it bad is divorce, not marriage.
Correct.
Then
Listen,
we need to mitigate
we're
divorce.
15 minutes in, and we are in the land of reality. You finally called up. Can you tell
I've been
me
there the whole
how
time.
we can get to the secular marriage? I mean, I've given you a
Yeah,
chance.
so-
You're dragging your
So
feet.
again, there's never been any point to secular marriage ever.
Now, listen, marriage is for child creation. It would be great for child community
it's
and
not
all
just
of
for
these
that.
things. And now, listen, by the time the religious aspects got into marriage, they were chopping people's heads off and burning Bibles. So, listen.
Marriage is for child making. And by the time, okay, there's two two assertions there. No premise. Let's see if he has any supporting evidence or.
And I know we want to take it back to the past and act like the past was better, but there's always a negative part of the past. If you go back and you look at the English, this has all been there. People were getting their heads chopped off. The Crusaders were doing their things across countries, and they were spreading Christianity through threats and
what does that have to
violence.
do with anything?
Now, that's what you're trying to uplift. That's what you're trying to uphold.
I don't even know what the hell
Yeah, I don't really see that's an
you're
argument.
talking about.
You wouldn't know what I'm talking
I
about.
don't.
That's where you're lacking.
I have no
so
idea.
catch up. You're sitting in the
What
cross
does
from me. I
Crusades
want
have
you
to do with divorce?
That was when your holy marriage
Uh-huh.
was the best marriage that you're trying to go to. Now listen.
Okay, we'll give him. I don't see how that's an argument. If anybody can make that an argument, I'll add a point, but I don't see how that's
In the
an argument.
1950s? Were we crusading in the 1950s?
You
What the hell are you
talked
talking about?
You talked about the institution of marriage for 2,000 years.
Yeah.
Sir, do you need me to catch you up on what you're talking
Yeah,
about?
but
You're having trouble
you know what
keeping up with
marriage-
me.
do you know what
You're
marriage was
having
like
trouble
50 years
keeping up
ago?
with me. You said
I am
2,000 years ago,
truly
and I told you
intellectual
2,000
disney.
years ago they were chopping people's heads off.
All right, I'll admit, Coach Greg Adams is entertaining, but it's getting very rhetorical right now. There's no arguments presented at the moment.
It has what to do with
I
anything?
need you to catch up with me, sir.
Okay.
If you want to take things back to the past, you have to accept everything as the past. You can't just cherry pick. Now,
What?
here's the thing. You're cherry picking. If you want to take things back to
Okay.
tradition,
Uh-huh.
take it all the way back. Why
You're cherry picking how?
stop at the 50s?
I don't know, man. If you're asking questions, it's hard to grant an argument on that.
Take it
I
back
don't
to
know
the,
if I can grant the argument.
to the
That's-
1890s.
what you're saying right now is so incoherent. I actually don't even understand
Well,
it.
that's what. Listen, when you're
It's
when you're
completely
running out of bullets,
incoherent.
when you're running out of bullets,
Well, it's
the
just
last thing you do
incoherent.
is the shame. All right,
I'm not
listen,
even trying to
are
shame you. It's
struggling?
just incoherent.
I need you to catch up with me.
Okay, catch me
I-
up.
just say you're lacking if you can't keep it up.
It's
All right, now here's the
incoherent.
problem.
It's
Here's
incoherent.
a problem. Here's the problem.
I don't know what to tell you.
Here's the problem you're having.
2,000 years ago, they were chopping heads off. Who gives a shit?
Listen,
what does that
you
have to do with
said
anything?
2,000 years ago. I'm coming up with yours. You're wholly religious. 2,000 years ago, it's been a part
What
of
does
the
that
institution.
have to do with this?
Exactly. Here's the problem. You're cherry picking.
Cherry picking what?
Listen,
I'm
you want-
listening.
I'm gonna slow you down. I'm gonna
Slow
slow
me
you
way
down
down.
because I see what you're doing here. I'm gonna slow you down.
Okay.
It's hard for you to keep up.
It is. You're
I
right.
understand.
I
I
am-
understand because you
I
haven't
am
debated. This is your
bedazzled.
toughest debate. Your audience knows this.
Oh, it's rough.
There's no God in marriage
Okay.
in the United States.
Yeah.
Can we agree to that? When you get to divorce, there's no God in
we
marriage.
can't agree to that.
We need to agree to it because when you go into divorce court,
Yeah.
there's no God.
Yeah,
you
but
can't bring in your
I
God
thought-
and your Bible. And at that particular point, none of your ecclesiastics marriage works.
Okay.
Period.
So the thing is, you just said, can we agree that there's no God in marriage? And then
You don't have to agree.
But hang on, calm down. And then you switched over to divorce. There's no God in divorce. But those are two different questions and proposition. Hang on, relax. The second thing is that me saying that what made marriage a great institution is this whole Sky Daddy character, and that the institution has been in place for 2,000 years, and it's been. Hang on, calm down.
2,000
And it's been a
years.
strong institution. I'm not actually sure how tying in that at the time they cut people's heads off, what that has to do with the fact that in the 1950s and 40s, you still had 95% of these marriages staying together. This is not ancient history. This is not even early American history. Hang on. That's in your grandfather's lifetime, basically. And
All right, so Andrew did ask the question, but he then added on more evidence for that. So we're going to give it a point here. Take a little pause real quick. People don't realize how complex Andrew's arguments actually are until you break them down. I mean, ultimately, yeah, I think that's what I'm here. That's why we're here. The chat can be a place for helping everybody in the chat and me, because look, man, I'm not that bright sometimes.
by the way, that was the case for black marriages as well. Very strong institutions. But all of those institutions were that way because they followed that whole Sky Daddy thing. They were like, oh, that Sky Daddy's going to smite us if we don't. And so what you do here is you're giving the classic progressive argument, which is, well, you know, guys, it is true that it's a great institution, and it is true it's the best place in the world to have children for the continuation of the species. And also, it's fantastic for men's health. It's fantastic for their mental health. It's great for them in almost every way. But that divorce thing is real bad. And I counter. You're right. That divorce thing is real bad. We have now a center of agreement. But now we're going back to the marriage in the West thing, which is that whole great institution problem. Well, if we agree that what made it good, which you just did, is, hey, that Sky Daddy guy, and then I point out that right now you can still utilize that Sky Daddy guy for an ecclesiastical marriage outside of the state. Hang on. And the only thing you could do is say, what about common law? But you can't govern anybody from common law. And at least in the ecclesiastical institution, you have social pressures on women to stay married. You can't offer a man anything like that. Give me a single social pressure you can offer that would actually keep these marriages together. One.
All right. Now, when you're asking for a metric that can, when you're asking for basically evidence, if he grants it, let's see if this is good. Let's see.
What? Just one.
Can I answer something
Yeah.
you just said? This would be interesting.
I can't
because
wait.
You said
but
the
can you answer
19
that question? Then
No,
ask.
before.
Oh, of
the
course.
1940s.
Of course, you gotta ask me a question.
Because
before you
listen,
answer
I'm
mine.
listening. I'm listening to you.
All right. Well, this is a dodge. This is a dodge right here. This is a dodge. I do think this is a dodge, because if it was that easy, he would have added it. I can't give him a fallacy, but I'll give him. That's dodging. My nigga's dodging right here. He's dodging. So on that point, I don't have a score for that. But let's see here. It's funny because CGA's took de-evolution is very close to what Andrew believes is responsible for why modern society is the way it is. Yeah, they can agree on the description on things, but their prescriptions is what we're arguing about right now. You know what I mean?
You asked the question at the end. If you would have asked it at the beginning, possibly I might have been able to address it. But let me address this point.
Okay.
You said the 1940s and 1950s with this imaginary sky daddy controlling marriages. That sounds like enforcement, because by the time the
Doesn't it?
1970s came around, the very first chance women got to file a no-fault divorce without need for evidence, without need to have a private investigator to prove an affair.
Was no fault the 70s?
Yes, it was the 70s, started by Ronald Reagan.
Yeah.
I'll educate you.
But hang on.
Came along. Hold on for a second. No.
Okay.
I got the
Go
floor
ahead.
here. I got the floor. So you said the religious institutions governed it and made it great. The 1970s came along, and as soon as they did,
Feminism.
women started to file divorces at record rates, which is back to my conversation. As soon as you remove the authority of Sky Daddy, now you're back with the state, and now you have difficulty, and now the risk is now greater.
Wow.
So that's the issue that
Then
you
it
have.
sounds like men should be moving towards Sky Daddy then, because it mitigates their risk.
The courts, the nation should be
There's
moving
no
towards
courts.
That. But how do you enforce that?
What courts?
Your
You're
land
not
is-
getting a marriage from the state. What courts are involved here?
Everything you told me is
Okay, that's the rebuttal. And we're gonna add a point for Coach, and we're gonna add a rebuttal for Andrew. Let's see. You gotta add a dodging tally. I mean, shoot, yeah. I guess we'll just add it. We'll add it. Maybe we'll call it deflecting. All right, we're gonna add it. Bear with me for a second, guys. We're gonna add this dodge and tally. Bear with me for a second, please. I mean, while we're taking this little intermission for me to add it, how are you guys doing today? How was your... Do you guys recently listen to any debates, or you hear anything stupid online? Interested to know about it. Dodge. Dodge encounter 1. Where to go? 2. Dodging counter 2. We're gonna make this. It's gonna look a little bit ugly, but let's see if we can put this on here real quick. Dodging. All right. I watched both of... Oh, thanks. I watched both of them for years. Okay, definitely. I was actually surprised the way this debate went. I watched both of them for years. I thought this was going to end up the same way the Andrew versus Undead Chronic ended. I think I remember that. Undead Chronic was calling him like a cuck or something. I'm like, bro, really? Okay, back to this adding this dodge counter. Dodging. We're gonna make it 94. I think it's 94. Dodging. 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 All right, this is going to be ugly, but we're just going to add it. It's going to be ugly, guys. But look, we're here. We're here. We're queer. Get used to it. You guys remember that? Anyways. Okay. Dodging. Yeah, this is going to be red. We're going to make this red. Doom, 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 doom. Boom, 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 boom. Dodging. And then we're going to have to add this little counter. Dodge counter 1. Documents, counters, dodging counter 1. Select the color. 94. Make it red. Give it an outline. Hey, if anybody wants to get mad at or blame German in the chat. Around 1490, I think. All right, if I press this, dodge. Yeah, we got it to work. All right, we're gonna add another one in a second here. Now, bear with me, guys, and please forgive me that it's not all aligned because this is all on the fly, and I just learned how to do this today. Oh, damn. Sorry, guys. No, this is a good idea. I spent hours breaking down Andrew's debating against Matt Dillahunty and why, and we only got the opening statement for that one. You know what's funny is Dillahunty is basically a pussy for that. Just straight out ran. You know what? I'm not going to do this. But what do you expect? He's a atheist. They don't have any morals anyway. Let's see. Next counter. Text. Dodge counter 2. Text file. 94. Select color. Make it blue. Give it that outline. And we're in business. Hey man, let's see if it works. Yeah, dodging. It's not looking good. Let me see if Andrew dodges. I wouldn't doubt it. All right, back to debate.
A make-believe scenario.
How? You can
You're
do it right
telling-
now. How is it make believe?
How do you do that when people the
Here's what you
marriages do say?
yeah.
I know you want to go
I'll
back
tell
to
you how.
Ecclesiastics. This
No,
is
I'll
going to
tell
be
you,
a
you can
problem.
do it right
Okay.
this second.
Okay,
You
can
can go do it right now.
You can do it at this particular
can't
point.
too.
However,
What do you mean?
Here's the problem.
Okay.
Can you get men to do it?
Yes.
Okay, you might be able to think you can get men to do it, but as soon as they do it, I want you to stick around for the average of 8 to 10 years when these men start getting divorced. See, what you're doing is you're leading.
We've been
hold on
watching
for a
it for
second.
longer.
You've been leading. You're going to lead
Wait,
men.
let me
into-
see. Was that a
when
part?
these
Was that
men
argument?
do it, but as soon as they do it, I want you.
Okay.
Can you get men to do it?
Yes.
Okay, you might be able to think you can get men to do it, but as soon as they do it, I want you to stick around for the average of 8 to 10 years when these men start getting divorced. See, what you're doing is you're leading.
We've been
hold on
watching
for a
it for
second.
longer.
You've been leading. You're going to lead men into a burning building,
Oh.
and the reason why, and this is a famous quote by Martin Luther King, is because the laws of integration didn't catch up fast enough for what he wanted for people to integrate. And what happened was it took him 12 to 15 years to realize that he led men or black people into a burning building in which integration was not possible at the time.
Okay.
you are also proposing the same thing. And I would like for you to stick around to see the results of what you're proposing, because eventually you would have to pay the price. How did Martin Luther King pay the price? You would have to pay the price for the men that you misled.
So Martin Luther misled.
What? What does he insinuate? He's gonna get bopped, like he's gonna get shot because he didn't integrate correctly?
Men, and that's why he was killed.
I said he misled black people. You missed that part.
Those
He said,
are
okay, let me repeat it, because you're slow.
I
All right,
am,
you
you're
definitely
right.
are slow, Neanderthal.
That's for sure.
Let me tell you something.
I'm dragging
Martin
knuckles
Luther
over here.
King said specifically, related to black people.
Is that an ad hominem? Let me repeat it because you're slow. Hey, look, let me just let you guys know the ad homs, that's a fallacy. So, hey, we gotta add it for Damn, is my fallacy button working? That's tough. Let me see. Oh, did I press the rebuttal? Uh-oh. This one's supposed to be fallacy. Let's see what happens when I press this. Oh, damn. Damn. Go back to my rebuttal counter. I done messed it up, guys. Fallacy was supposed to be this one. All right, so that's a fallacy because ad homs are fallacies. So I'm gonna keep going now. So at this moment, they're pretty much tied up, but it's not looking good for Coach because Coach has been dipping in the red territory. So the more red you got, we're gonna have to subtract it at the end somehow. So
In civil rights, I'll speak slowly for you.
Yeah.
That he believed at the end, he led them into a burning building. I'm going to speak slower. The reason why is because the laws of integration did not catch up with what he would like to present. Black people weren't ready to integrate. As a result, he said, I may have led my people, that means his people, into a burning building.
Okay.
I would like for you, under your scenario, if your movement takes off, to see the results, because it took Martin Luther King 12, 15 years to see the results of his efforts.
Yeah.
You're proposing something very extreme that majority of people aren't going to do. But let's just say if, because you like to hide in the clouds of make-believe, if this works, I would love to see you represent these men in a divorce when they get their head bit off by these so-called women that are forced by Sky Daddy to stay in these marriages.
This is really, like, I don't even understand how
you don't understand. I know you have a hard time understanding.
I do. I don't actually even understand how to respond to a lot of this because it's so incoherent. But I'm going to try anyway.
Oh yeah, see, this is.
So
I
let's
think
start.
this is always incoherent when he understands. Perhaps you don't understand.
This isn't-
that might be what it is, and
yeah.
it's okay to say you don't understand, and I can speak slowly for you.
I don't understand now, but I'm going to
Of
tell you
course.
why. I'm going to
Of
tell you
course,
why.
dismissive. I mean, you know,
I'm going to tell you
it's
why.
okay.
It's-
When you're losing, just say
okay,
you're losing,
well,
and I can speak.
Let
for
me
you
know
a
when I
little
can
bit
talk
slower.
and you gas out.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So
Yeah,
here's
typical tactic, but you
here's-
can work that against these
Okay, so I
OnlyFans
still can't
girls.
talk.
Hey,
Go
listen,
ahead.
you can work that tactic against those OnlyFans girls that you debate, debating 23-year-old ignorant women.
They're smarter than you.
But now
They're
you're sitting
smarter than
across
you.
from a person.
They're always smarter than you.
Yeah, you're sitting across from a person here.
Oh, no.
That's looking at a Neanderthal, say you don't understand something very
Well, let
simple.
me know when you gas out
This
so
is
I
the
can respond.
simplest thing that you can understand.
Okay.
Your go. Your go.
Are you sure? I
Please.
can actually do it this
And
time?
please.
They're smarter than you. There's an assertion. I guess we'll add that. We'll add that as the but then the wrong one. We'll add that as a but then Coach called him a Neanderthal.
Put me to sleep.
Okay, so
Put me to
here's,
sleep.
here's why it's incoherent, and there's a bunch of this I don't understand. You keep on saying that these men are going to get divorced, and yet I'm proposing non-state marriages. How are they going to get divorced? Well, you can only say then via common law. But again, you have no defense yourself against
These
common
are-
law. They're going to
Wait a
get
minute,
divorced.
wait a
Keep on saying that these men are going to get divorced, and yet I'm proposing Here's why it's incoherent, and there's a bunch of this I don't understand. You keep on saying that these men are going to get divorced, and yet I'm proposing non-state marriages. How are they going to get divorced? Well, you can only say then via common law. But again, you have no defense yourself against
These are if scenarios.
I don't
mean, come on,
I
man.
don't
Yeah, that's a rebuttal. That's a rebuttal. Add that to the tally. Rebuttal.
Please,
I
you
don't-
said I was going to debate somebody
This
that's going
is-
to come.
Why do you
This
keep
is an if
filibustering?
scenario.
Are you, I
Give
let
me a
you
real
speak.
scenario,
I let you
please.
speak the entire time.
Give me something to speak about.
Okay,
You're giving
I'm
me
not
an if
asking you to
scenario.
speak,
You're
Master.
trying to invite
Listen.
me to your church.
I'm just
I'm not going to
asking
your
you
church.
to
Please
listen.
give me a real scenario.
You have to shut up long enough for me to
Come
do
on,
it.
please. I've been here 30 minutes waiting for you to do it.
All right.
Give me a real scenario.
Okay, so what I don't understand here, again, and I'm going to ask again, in your incoherent worldview,
Okay, please.
you keep on saying that these men who I propose this to are going to get divorced. But I'm not proposing that they get married through the state. The state's the one who does the divorces. So if the only thing you could say is that there's a potential for common law here. But that's something you yourself cannot guard them from by your own admission. The second problem that we have here is that I don't have to stick around for 10 or 15 years because we can look at the numbers right now in religious marriage for what this looks like. And here's what this looks like. If you're a Catholic, you're way less likely to get divorced. And if you're Orthodox, even less likely to get divorced. And it's because of that ecclesiastical structure. You're not ever going to be able to prevent all risks from divorce, not under any
Thank
thing.
you, God. That's
Not-
the best. That's the
Another
most
argument.
realistic
not
thing
under
you've said all
any,
day.
but not under any system
Correct.
is that going to be the case.
But
And
why
even-
are
and
Catholics
even-
getting divorced?
and
How
even
do they get
wanted to. They
divorced?
get annulments. They don't even get divorces.
Okay,
and it's
but how
a
does it
really
know?
long
So
process, and it's rare.
Christians have a similar divorce rate than the secular.
No.
So they have a
No.
very close. So how do they get divorced?
I'm going to
How
explain.
do Christians get
Tom,
divorced?
if you, I'll answer
Please,
your question.
please tell me, because I know how to get divorced.
if
Right
you
in the
say-
divorce court.
Yeah, I know. So because they call it a state marriage.
Right.
Yeah, and I'm proposing that they don't do that, right?
Okay, a land of make believe. If
How's that a man land
If-
make believe? You can go fucking do it right now.
Please tell me what
are you
percent-
talking
listen,
about?
What percentage of people do this particular thing that you're doing? That you're
All
proposing?
right. I think that's another dodge. Because Andrew just asked him, hey, look, you're talking about the divorce court, and I'm explaining to them not to get a state license. So how is that going to be any different from what you're proposing? If both of us are not going to use the state license, how are what we're doing any different from what you're doing? But then Coach answers with a question. This is a dodge.
What would that matter? Let's say
Why
it's
does it
one
matter?
person.
Okay,
Why would that
okay, it's
matter?
one person. So you're taking a very small chance. You're arguing against me that has millions of people on my
Who are
side.
getting
and
divorced and
millions-
you don't want
But
them
you're
to.
telling me a small 20 people in a little house on the prairie
Yeah.
that do these, that you govern people without electricity and,
Okay.
and you riding horse and carriages.
Yeah.
You're telling me this small percentage of people are going to lead a movement of doing something you're proposing here on YouTube. This is going. How many people are doing this?
Okay. Why
How
would
many
that
peop-
matter?
It would matter because
Why?
then we can use some data to determine, do these people end up in divorce?
Well, we can
More
do it.
than likely.
This is great because
do.
we can look at the data. So
I
let's
would
look
love
at.
to, please.
Do you want to look at the Catholic data and Orthodox
No,
data
no, no,
for
no.
marriage?
We're talking about your ecclesiastic proposal.
That
That's what
is
we're
the
talking about.
This is
Okay.
the ecclesiastical
If
proposal.
we're using Catholic and Christians, their divorce rate tends to be very
No.
close. It's,
I'll look it
It's
up.
very close. Let's go
Not
ahead and look it
Catholic.
up. Hold on for a second.
Self-ID'd Christians.
Okay,
Self-ID'd Christians.
Okay.
Self-ID.
Self-ID. No, let's just put Christians.
Christian?
He's like,
Christian and
he
Catholic?
likes
You have to
dice
define-
up-
you have
he
to tell
likes
me what a
He
Christian
likes to
is.
dice up all of these people. And listen,
important.
listen. I would love to go to your church one day. I would be
Okay.
a wonderful guest, and I would love to thump the Bible, and I would love to say a prayer with you.
Uh-huh.
However, this conversation is entering
Can we
into
pull up my screen?
very much a Sky Daddy conversation, which
All right, we got
then it's about
Who
belief.
brought up Sky Daddy? You.
It's- you brought
No,
you brought it up
we
about
got
the
the divorce rates
ecclesiastic
pulled up right
marriage.
here.
That's not.
You brought that up.
What is that?
So
That's,
that is a religious
if
argument.
you're an
which lower
atheist, you
people
should
in
be able
religi-
to
okay, listen,
contend with
listen,
that.
A lot of people would not want to do that. You're telling me a small percentage
Who
of people are going
cares?
to do
We're
this.
talking about mitigating the rates of
Okay,
divorce. It
now,
doesn't matter how many
can
do
we
it.
move forward from this one? We agree to disagree.
No, we
Can
don't agree to disagree. I
Okay, so
need
you want to
counter
keep it here in your
arguments.
land of make
I want
believe.
counter
No, I'm
arguments.
not going to argue in your land of make believe.
Yeah,
in the
because you
clouds.
can't. You have no
because
counter
it's
arguments.
ridiculous. It's
You don't have
ridiculous.
one counter argument.
Here's a counter argument.
Okay, what is it?
There's no God in marriage. How many times do I have to say that?
That's an
If you
assertion.
end
It's
up-
not an argument.
If you end up in
Yeah, it's not an
divorce court,
argument.
God doesn't matter. None of this matters. That's real. That's the realest argument that you can possibly hear. Soon as
How do you end up in a divorce court without the state?
Hold on for a second. Hold
How?
on for a second. Hold on for a second. I'm going to tell you how.
Okay.
In the 1940s, which you so love, I don't know why you don't live there. You look like you live there. You're dressed like you live there.
They
Here's
wore
the problem.
All right. I don't know. If it's funny, should we add it? Because that's two. I guess we'll give it one. That's another ad hom. Now, I'm going to give it, it's funny. It was funny. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. If it's funny, should we just subtract the ad homs? Because we're just going to add another ad hom. Because, but I don't know. You kind of expect it. Like, being black. Yeah, I added it to the wrong one. Being black, talking smack. This is just kind of how we talk. This is how we converse. We disagree sometimes. So it's ad hom nonetheless, even though I thought it was funny.
Hold on for a second.
40s,
Hold
did
on
they?
for a second. Here's the problem.
Okay.
These people, under your authoritative, godly marriage, still got divorced at high rates.
No,
Once
they didn't.
no-fault divorce showed up, it started at 25%. Then by the time you get here, it's close to
I add-
40%. It's still
I
tiny.
add another category.
I'm
What,
giving
what
you
category
the
should I
reality.
add, man?
You're
God
trying to
damn it.
drag me back over here to the little house on the prairie. It's not working. It's not going to work with me. How about this?
How about a counter argument?
If
Can I get
traditional
one of
marriage,
those?
I gave you one.
What?
I mean, come on, man.
What is the
Come on,
counter
man.
argument? Come
Listen,
on, man. It's not a
listen,
counter
listen.
argument. What's the counter argument?
There's no God in marriage, and divorce
That's an
court,
assertion, not
there's
an
no
argument.
God in divorce court.
That's not an
I assert
argument.
that there's no
Okay, well,
God
there
in
is a
divorce
God
court.
in divorce court. Argument defeated.
Exactly.
Argument
Yeah.
defeated.
Oh my goodness,
It's
boy!
so
All right, did you
silly.
leave your sandbox outside? Did you miss your toys?
It's
Did
just
you not get
ridiculous.
in that?
Like,
Here's a
I
problem.
want an argument,
This is the
dude.
absolute argument.
Okay.
You're trying to drag me to church. I'm taking you outside of church. You can't combat it because you want to battle inside the church. I'm not letting you. So let's get back to the
I
state.
don't care if secularists get married.
Let's get back to the state
What do you mean?
and that divorce rate. Did you find out the
Funny ad homs?
numbers?
Yeah,
This
pulled it
is
up
difficult, man. Maybe I'll do it later on, but
But I'll pull it up again. It's up on the screen. Can you guys see this? Catholic, 19 to 25%. Mainline Protestant, 30 to 35%. Evangelical, 26 to 33.
That's up there.
Now, pull up
That's up there.
Orthodox.
40,
Orthodox.
33, 34, 30. That's pretty high.
Orthodox divorce rate. Let's see.
17 to 20.
I see average 33%.
That's
US
U.S.
average.
That's
all
evangelical
adults.
Protestants. That's with the
It says
coalition
Orthodox
of all of
adults
them.
ever divorced 17 to 20. U.S.
Yes.
adult average 33%.
Yeah, so they're much
It
lower.
says in the U.S. 33%. The
They're
Orthodox ever divorced. That's worldwide.
Yeah, they're much lower rates.
Okay, but you're saying that they can't get divorced. That's what you said.
No, bro.
You said, is that what you said?
The whole point
said
here
they
is
can't
how
get
do we
divorced because you're
mitigate the
enforcing
risk
them.
of divorce? You can't ever completely mitigate it.
30%.
It can't ever be completely mitigated, but you
yeah. So now it feels like they're talking past each other, and Coach has been bringing a bunch of assertions as rebuttals or counter arguments, but those are not arguments. Those are just like it's just C without P1 or P2, so it doesn't count.
can mitigate the risk of divorce.
Okay, great.
It is lower. They're
Much
saying
it's
lower,
lower.
much lower.
Okay, all right. So a chance of getting hit 30% versus 44%. This doesn't defeat the argument. Those
It does defeat the
divorces,
argument.
Those divorces happen in the court of law because no divorce cannot
right.
be
Wait, wait,
reported.
wait.
Man. Those
It does defeat the
divorces,
argument.
Those divorces happen in the court of law because no divorce cannot be
right.
reported in.
So this
That's
is
not in the
great.
court of law.
Actually,
so what is the divorce
yeah.
that happens outside of the court of law? If it's 33% in the court of law with your Orthodox ecclesiastic marriage, what is it outside?
Even
What is
lower.
it within that?
It's even lower.
Okay, so add that 10%.
yes.
now we're at 40%.
No, you wouldn't add
Whatever.
that. You wouldn't add 10%.
That's the legal
what
divorce.
Are you talking
Hold on
about?
for a second. When you say a divorce, those are reported divorces legally. That means these people filed in the legal reported system. That's 30+%. Okay, you said there would be more that were outside of the door.
No, less.
Outside of the state.
Less.
No, hold on for a second.
Less.
There's additional outside of the marriage, outside of the state.
no.
Oh, there's none.
Well,
So you're
no,
saying
no,
there's zero.
Not really.
What are you saying?
Okay, so let me explain.
Please,
so that you understand.
additional to the 33%.
Yeah, but you have to. Can you at least let me finish this time?
Please do it because you're slow.
So if it's the case,
Greg is laying them on thick, and I keep adding to the rebuttal. I don't mean to. He's been laying them on pretty thick, man.
if it's the case you're in an ecclesiastical marriage, you're still adding usually the state. These people are all adding the state, okay? The Catholics themselves, if you were to look at their annulments rate from the ecclesiastical authority, it's actually much lower than even the percentage that you're getting from the state because they add the state in, which means some people will ignore the ecclesiastical authority and get divorced anyway.
That's exactly what I've been telling you. The entire
Nobody
time. And
ever
then what-
argued that.
Exactly. But so
We're
how do
arguing
you
about
mitigate? We're saying
mitigating the
mitigating
risk.
Seems
Mitigating
like
the
there's
risk.
still a risk.
No, it would mitigate the risk.
So the risk is slightly lower.
Much lower.
Okay, that's not that much lower.
It's
The
much
divorce rate is
lower.
40%. You're talking about 33% to 43%.
No, we're not. We're talking about 20% to 35 to 40%.
Okay, so that's lower.
Yes.
Okay, that's all you got. Now, here's
That's
the
all I
problem.
need.
That's not all you need because there's still risk. How do you? at this
Nobody
particular
said
point-
there wouldn't be risk.
Exactly.
You
So
can't
at this
mitigate
particular
risk
point-
for anything 100%.
All right, so at this point, it's starting to feel like Greg is losing because if he's explaining to them that there's a lower percentage, and Greg has been trying to argue this entire time that, hey, these divorces they're still going to happen. You're not going to be able to. He's just basically making a lot of claims like you're not going to be able to facilitate it long enough, or you're not going to be able to integrate it quick enough to the man because it's too extreme. Andrew's been saying, look, it's present. It's actually happening now. But now that he's actually pulled up the data, Greg has had to kind of relent a bit So this is not good, at least positionally, for Greg, because now they're quibbling on the quantifying amounts, or the amount. So they already understand the qualifying, which is, hey, there's a percentage in these categories, but now Greg is starting to say, oh, that's not enough. Well, that wasn't the metric you asked for.
It's not possible.
Exactly. So now why are we?
Because we're talking about mitigation, and if Andrew's proving mitigation, you can't say, oh, it goes by this point, so that's not enough. Because I haven't heard a good argument yet. Why is it not enough?
Telling men to get married.
Because you have to, because everything is a cost-benefit analysis. Your issue is not marriage. Your issue is with mitigating
At
the risk.
this point, it's not marriage.
It's
This is the only.
mitigating-
Hold on for a second. Can I say this?
Oh my God. Can you
Hold
ever
on for a
stop
second.
saying something so I
Come
can
on,
say
listen.
something?
At this particular point, listen.
Okay, I'm
You're
listening.
telling me from this point, we haven't even got to the entire marriage, because you're still over in the land of make-believe. We haven't even got to the other issues
What's
of marriage.
make-believe?
Hold on for a second. We still haven't got to the other issues of marriage.
I'm willing
I think another thing I want to point out is they're both kind of like Andrew's. I don't think Andrew hasn't explained why it's okay. I think he has explained why it's not coherent, because he's explaining to Greg that, hey, look, you're talking about divorce, and I'm explaining to you that these are state marriages. But what Greg just said right here was interesting.
You're telling me from this point, we haven't even got to the entire marriage, because you're still over in the land of make-believe. We haven't even got to the other issues
What's
of marriage.
make-believe?
I think some of his land of make-believe information, like maybe to an atheist, it would make sense, but to a Christian, I guess it's just my bias. He's giving you practical, data-backed claims, and Greg Adams keeps saying, look, this is make-believe, but how if he's shown you that there's actual data that has a decrease in marriage? I don't see how that's I don't see how you can just dismiss that.
Hold on for a second. We still haven't got to the other issues of marriage.
I'm willing to
So
get to
you're
everything.
telling me about the mitigation risk, and we've wasted too much time on it. Can we talk about the other issues of marriage?
Well,
Which
okay.
are sexless
Can
marriage.
we at least wrap this up?
Yeah,
real
let
quick?
Andrew finalize this, and then
Yeah,
we'll move on
so
to that.
the thing is like, the problem is you said it was a great institution. If you say it's a great institution, even when it was a great institution, people were still getting divorced. So if that's the case, what you're really after is just mitigating risk. And I'm giving you a perfect way to mitigate risk, right? And the fact of the matter is that it is becoming more and more popular to do it this way. Prenup plus ecclesiastical authority almost mitigates your risk entirely, except for common law, but you can pick the state to live in for that. And you, by your own logic, can't defer from common law either. You can't protect men from that. So the thing is like, you can't have it both ways. You can't agree marriage is good and the backbone for the West, and you really like it, and it's fucking great, and it's a great institution, but also don't do it because it's make-believe that you can mitigate risk, even though you can right this second. That's insane.
Listen,
All right,
final point. Let's get to the other risks.
Wait. Did he just ask a question?
We tackled that.
I'm listening. Make believe that you can mitigate you can except for common law, but you can pick the state to live in for that. Mitigate risk,
Hold on, did he ask a question?
Case, what you're really after is just mitigating risk, and I'm giving you a perfect way to mitigate risk, right? And the fact of the matter is that it is becoming more and more popular to do it this way. Prenup plus ecclesiastical authority almost mitigates your risk entirely, except for common law, but you can pick the state to live in for that. And you, by your own logic, can't defer from common law either. You can't protect men from that. So the thing is like, you can't have it both ways. You can't agree marriage is good and the backbone for the West, and you really like it, and it's fucking great, and it's a great institution, but also don't do it because it's make-believe that you can mitigate risk, even though you can right this second. That's insane.
He has to respond to those two things, either the mitigation or why he can have it both ways. So that's what I'm looking for right now. Is Greg going to respond to either the mitigation that Andrew presented or basically his double standard? Can Greg do that? That's all I want to hear from him.
Listen,
All right, final
I'm
point.
listening.
final point. Let's get to the other risks that are associated with it.
Okay. That's a straight dodge. That is a straight dodge. Now, I'm biased, right? Because I'm kind of like really analytical. I'm not sure if Greg is like that. But that's a straight dodge if I've ever seen one. That's a straight dodge. So, look, man, I was thinking this is going to be a little bit closer, but it's not looking like it. He just straight up dodged that question. He straight up dodged that question.
We got that.
That's
we
not a
tackled
final
that
point on this.
That is a
Make the final point and then
listen,
go to
listen. I'm a grown man. I'm not 22-year-old OnlyFans. I'm going to say what I want to say. Listen to this. At this particular point,
You got
we're
me
moving
on that
forward.
one.
Listen, we're moving forward.
Okay, we're moving
At this
forward.
point,
Wait, he just doubles down. He says, I ain't one of these e-thoughts. So let me get this straight. If Andrew gives you a question, he's like, can you answer it? Because it's very poignant to the entire debate. I ain't one of these e-thoughts. You can just tell what you're gonna do. And it's like, come on, bro. Don't let your melanin show, man. Don't let your melanin show.
What are the other risks that we want to guard against? We got the divorce. You're going to put them on the ecclesiastic paperwork. Less people are doing that. Not a lot of people know how to do it. He just got married. He didn't do it. All right. I can almost guarantee.
Probably not.
Exactly.
So what?
So now, less people are going to do this. Not a lot of people know that. Not a lot of men are going to prepare
like we
themselves to
should
do
try to
that.
change that, huh?
Exactly. So that would be
I
a
agree.
very tough
We should
scenario,
try to
and
change it.
most likely it's not going to happen moving forward.
Okay.
There are other issues in marriage
Okay, let's
that
get to 'em.
typically, if depending on what authority you
Wait a
want-
minute. Is this not moving the goalpost? Is this not moving the goalpost on top of that? Guys, did he not just move the goalpost? Greg went Wes Watson and lost. I mean, hey man, he's got the ball, he's got the beard. He did go Wes Watson. Show us your tummy. He's a bit short from that, but hold on a second. We need to research real quick. Let me look up what is moving the goalposts. Because I really believe not only did he dodge, he moved the goalposts, which is doubly bad. I know you guys are gonna hate me. I know niggas gonna leave or whatever, but what is moving the goalpost? It's a logical fallacy and manipulation tactic when someone changes the criteria for success after the original criteria has already been met. I think so, guys. Example, you said I couldn't show one study proving my point. Here it is. Well, that's just one study. Show 10 studies. Okay, no. He didn't move the goalposts. I showed you mitigation. Okay, let me ask ChatGPT. What if the argument revolves around mitigation, but then the person who can't rebut the arguments about mitigation after asked a question about mitigation changes the metrics of, instead of mitigation of divorce, they want to talk about prenups. Is that moving the goalposts? Let's see what chat says. Now, granted, this is ChatGPT, so take it with a grain of salt, but I know you guys are gonna hate me for using it longer. Yeah, I suspected it was. ChatGPT is saying yeah, so I mean, if you guys don't agree, then let me know in the comments. But I'm just trying to be. I'm just using the chat bot. Nah, man, I like this. Just found you and sub. Hey, man, Michael Ryan, much appreciated. So, hey, Coach moved the goalpost, man. It's not looking good for Coach, man. It's not looking good. Not only were you directly asked two separate points, he gave you two options, either Coke or Pepsi. You said, nah. Let's go talk about Dr. Pepper. I want to talk about Dr. Pepper. As a matter of fact, let's go talk about, what's that? I was going to say Coachella or Horchata. Let's talk about horchata instead. So not only did he dodge the question, he moved the goalpost, bro. That is tough. That is so tough because that basically puts you in an even worse position on the scoreboard. So
still a risk for men. Yes, it's great for the backbone, but a lot of men are in sexless marriages. A lot of women are in sexless marriages. The percentage of affairs in marriages are still a big issue. That can't be addressed. Those risks are going to be tough. And now you have an issue because now whoever's your authority has to mitigate that risk. Now,
yeah. It's crazy how it's crazy. This is almost a double move the goalposts. But we're gonna give him basically saying, hey, look, you're not even addressing sexless marriages and etc. So
they have to govern or socially pressure the women, and that's going to be difficult to do. 20%, 30% of sexless marriages, 20-30% of people having affairs. This is not the intent of people who get married. So yes, we have the divorce. We set that aside. Now, what about within the marriage? How do you mitigate the risk for that? I'm assuming you're going to have the ecclesiastic come through the home and force the wives to fuck their husbands.
Oh, that's quite the straw man. But I'll go ahead and answer. Actually, the ecclesiastical authority does mitigate against this, and here's my proofs. Proof one. if it is the case that you get married to a woman who's a virgin, but she's a virgin because she's a Christian, hang on, let me get through the entirety of the argument.
I mean, Andrew said it's a straw man. I don't think that's a straw man because I don't think he made that position. Is it still a straw man if you don't know the person's position? Because he just asked a question. Asking a question, I don't think is a straw man. You don't get that one.
Before you start freaking out, if it is the case,
Virgins.
your chances,
Appreciate
your
the subs,
chances
guys.
of that marriage ending, very, very, very small, one. And two, they report that they have a happier sex life. This is actually the case with the decrease in body count, which generally comes with the more religious people.
So hold on, man. Hold on, man. He just not only did he rebut, he's answering the question directly. He's directly responding to it. So another rebuttal, man, for Andrew.
Meaning, the more that you take your religion seriously, the more that you pray, the more that you engage in that whole ecclesiastical authority thing, the less likely it is you step out of your marriage, significantly less likely. The less likely it is that you end up in a sexless marriage. You know why? Because there's a reinforcement in Christianity that men and women are not allowed to deprive each other of that, of sex, when it comes to marriage. And you find that people who follow the traditional faiths generally don't. And so, yes, the ecclesiastical authority preaches that from the pulpit. Sorry, lady, you got to fuck your husband. That's part of God's law. Yeah. What do you got for him? Go out and just fuck everybody? What are you going to do to mitigate? By the way, you're at the mercy of the same criticism. You can't mitigate guys' girlfriends from fucking around on them any more than you could a person's wife. You can't mitigate them stepping out on them. You can't mitigate them treating them like shit. You can't do anything. At least I have a mitigation. You have nothing. You have.
All right. So that's a claim because basically Andrew's saying, look, I have the church, you don't have it, and because of that, you don't have any way to mitigate it. So you're at the same mercy of the judgment that you're trying to put on me. So let's see what you have. So that's another argument. All right. I think this is all part of Greg's argument against modern marriage. And just that people don't have, people that don't leave. Damn. I feel like my melanin is showing, even though I'm albino. My albinism, I got albinism. And albiga. I think this is all part of Greg's argument, though, against modern marriage. Not just that people don't leave, but a lot of people have terrible marriages. Yeah, that is true. And that's just him. And it is a valid argument, but it's still moving the goalposts from the original two questions off of Andrew's cross-examination. Yeah, I think Andrew is cooking them. So.
Nothing, just liberal degeneracy. Give me something you could do that would give any kind of fail-safe against this. One thing.
I don't know what communities you live in.
All right, Greg. Mr. Greg, Coach Greg, you better not dodge, bro. You better not. I'll even take a rhetorical response.
But your church pastor is going to be very busy walking in all of these bedrooms, preventing divorce and enforcing women to sleep with their husbands. Now, the first leap of faith that you have, hold on for a second. Oh, I heard you. The first leap of faith is virgin. Okay, if we look at the stats, please pull up the stats of how many women qualify as a virgin.
On virginity.
You said virginity. I'm just letting you know. You brought it up.
In America?
Now, in America, what women percentage qualify as virgins? All right, so you're going to say very few. So you know this.
7%, age 22 to 34.
7%. Yeah.
Now, if he's disputing the information, if he's disputing the information put up, I'm not going to call that dodging.
Okay.
Do you know what?
So now we have.
Do you know what a baseline for an argument is?
That was the baseline.
Yeah.
You want to say now? Do we want to increase the body count?
Yeah,
I mean, because
yes,
if you're looking,
that was the whole point of the baseline of the argument.
So right now, if we can pull up how many women in Gen Z, because this is marital age women, would have a body count lower than 5.
No,
because
millennials
now
are also marriageably aged. What do you mean?
Okay, millennials, younger millennials. Okay, because there's no point in older people getting married. They're not procreating. All right, they're gonna have 1 or 2 kids.
Older
that doesn't help us.
Procreate.
Not that much. All right, they're gonna have 1 or 2 kids. All right, listen. It said in the Bible, in your Bible, it says be fruitful and multiply, not add. All right, we're not adding one little autistic kid. We're multiplying.
That would be multiplying.
No, it wouldn't be multiplying.
Yes,
having
it would.
one little bright ass kid.
If you have 3 and you have 1 more, that's
all right,
multiplying.
Multiplying by 1. All right, that's
so
not the answer.
multiplying.
Okay, listen. We're multiplying by multiples. You know what I'm talking about. Now listen.
Yeah, that is a multiple.
Hold on for a second. You want to convince me that there's going to be women of low body count in this secular world
This is a rebuttal
to
from
make your
Greg.
scenario work, to enforce women to have sex with their
They're gonna be
husbands
more
from the pulpit.
Yeah.
Do you see This is very strange.
Well, I have
from
all
a
the data
secular
to back
person.
mine. Show me
from a very
anything.
very small percentage. I mean, it works in a podunk town. I don't
Doesn't
know where
just
you're
work in a
from.
podunk town.
We're talking about the metropolises. We're talking about major
And
cities.
how is your
And you're talking
plan
about
going to mitigate
virginity.
that? How is your
I
plan
asked
going to
you-
mitigate
remember,
that?
I don't know if you remember. I asked you. All right,
And I
this is the
told
question
you.
and you came back with virgins.
No.
And you came back with
Oh my God.
enforcing
Why
sex
do
from
you
the
only get
pulpit.
half the argument? That's why you can't respond to my arguments. So let's do it again. If you want to
Please.
mitigate.
Force women to have loaded body
You're not,
counts.
dude. How's it force?
Go ahead.
How's it force?
You're the one enforcing sex.
How
to the
is it?
husband.
How?
do you
How are
enforce
we
sex-
using force?
How are you enforcing sex to the
Through
husband from the pulpit?
through social pressure, doofus. The same way.
I mean, I don't. The problem is Greg keeps butting in, not only to like derail the conversation sometimes, but he's also just asserting things. And then when asked, he doesn't really give a coherent argument.
You would with
Okay,
everything.
Gentlemen, your wife is going to have sex with you because church reverend enforced her to have sex with
God.
you.
Do you think?
Okay, please pull up the chat.
I mean, this is
The
rhetoric.
suggestion is to have a church reverend enforce you
They're
to
not
have burning
enforcing it.
desire to have sex with your
Enforce.
husband.
Yeah, this is a straw man. Is this not a straw man?
A church reverend enforce you
They're
to
not
have
enforcing
burning
it.
desire to have sex with your
Enforce
husband.
requires force. Enforce is a derivative of force. You can't enforce absent force. No one's saying force.
This is how your sex is going to be had in his marriage. It's through enforcement through the religious pulpit.
No, it's gonna
I mean,
be
this
the
is
idea-
2025,
if it's
and we're
the
still here
idea-
somewhere on Little
Yeah,
House
this
of
is
the
a literal
Prairie.
straw man. This is a literal straw man, guys. This is a literal straw man, guys. Guys. This is another straw man.
If it's the idea
I would love
that
to have
women
this reality.
If it's the idea that women have and men have both, that they're not supposed to deprive each other from this because that is how they live the life of a Christian. The case of the matter is that they try to keep themselves sexually appealing to the partner. They try to keep themselves moving towards that state where they're found appealing. That's part of that. Why do you think? And by the way, you keep saying force. Can you
Enforce.
demonstrate anywhere that I said that there would be any force involved with any of this, or that it's even
said
necessary?
enforce.
Enforce is force.
Correct. That's what. So, I was
So
correct
where
by
is
using
the force?
You
Where?
tell me. You're the one.
You're
that's gonna
asked the
say-
question.
Wait, you're the one that told me the church reverend is going to come and force marriage.
No.
and sex.
Yeah,
When?
Greg's not answering any questions, man. He just keeps dodging. He keeps dodging. He keeps dodging, guys.
You said that earlier.
No. I said the
Enforcement
ecclesiastical
from the pulpit-
authority
from the
uses
pulpit.
social pressures.
Social pressure
That's
to
not
make your
force.
wife fuck your husband.
No, you're not
So
making them
that's-
do anything.
Okay, to encourage them to fuck their
Yeah.
husband. Okay, this
Don't you encourage people's wives to fuck them?
I don't need to be in their bedrooms that much.
Yeah,
I
I mean, if
can't force
somebody,
her to do
if a,
anything.
wo- if
Listen, I
somebody
can't
called
force
you,
a woman to do
if a
very
woman
much.
called you and said, "I don't sleep with my husband. He seems angry at me," would you encourage her to sleep with him?
I wouldn't encourage her to do anything, especially with
You
me.
wouldn't
I don't mess
encourage
with
her to do
I don't mess with married women. That's their
Brilliant.
business. I
So
don't-
your
that's their-
solution
that's
is
their-
fucking nothing. Nothing.
My solution is very clear.
What is it?
You're telling me at this particular point that you're going to enforce through social pressure. Social pressure.
That's not
Hold on for a
force.
second. Social
There's no
pressure
enforcement.
social pressure enforces women to be very promiscuous at this particular point.
Uh-huh.
Now, you're talking about 7% of the population or better, maybe 10, that are going to fall under this category, and this is going to lead a wave of women sleeping with their husband through social pressures, when social pressure quite tells them the opposite. Let me have
No. I don't think he's understanding the argument again. If you're agreeing that social pressure has an effect on women and it makes them do things, then it would follow that social pressure could have them do other things as well. I don't see how that's hard to understand.
You know what the hell you're talking about this point.
Exactly. It's very difficult. I know.
It
It's
is
very
very
difficult
difficult.
for you. I know exactly, and very nice tactic. But listen, these
It's
are
not
all-
a tactic. I'm trying my hardest to
You're
understand.
taking a very small scenario to make it the large scenario. When I'm telling you the larger scenario is the reality, and you're telling me
Both
if
are reality.
I do this, if I do that,
No,
this is
so
a
are
very
you.
small percentage.
You're doing the same
I'm
thing.
telling you about
if
what's
you get
happening.
married, you may get a
No, I
divorce.
said
You
when.
may, if this happens, then this may happen.
We already looked at the statistics of it. Like
Okay, and you said the
no,
same
that
thing.
is likely to happen.
First of all,
You're doing the
these
same
are the
thing.
Can you
statistics you
pull up
looked
the
at.
statistics again?
The
Which one?
yeah, pull up
The
the
marriage
statistics.
statistics, the
For the
divorces.
Christians, it's
No,
actually not likely, is
overall
it?
in the United States? Overall in the United States.
Yeah,
So in order for it to work, you have to be white.
You need to break
make a
this
certain
down by
income. Hold on for a
demographics.
second. You need to be.
You want me to break it down?
So
And social
So you want to go?
economics.
You want to go? In order for your marriage to work, they have to be white, Christian.
They don't have to be white.
Make money,
No.
and then also probably live in a certain region.
If it's the
now,
case
what if that's
that-
not the
yeah,
case? Because
yeah.
in the United States, I don't know where you live, but you know, in the caves
Then
and
we use
hills,
the
something like that,
apparatuses.
Okay,
if you
so
take the rest of the
you're
United
saying it has
States,
to be
they're
race
highly
and demographic
that
based.
is outside of those demographics.
And don't
so
you wanna
what if
change
they're
that?
what if they're outside of that?
Don't
What if
you
they're
wanna-
not white
don't-
and Christian?
don't you wanna
What if
change
they're
that?
not Christian to make 100K? What do you suggest then?
Yeah, so here's what I would suggest.
Okay.
If it's the case that in the black community, you have more divorces than the white community, there's going to be contributing factors for why that is. I don't think that like black people are just ontologically different than white people. Do you? Do you just believe like that at their
All right, let me just fix that real quick. I know you guys are gonna hate me. I know everybody hates me for doing this. I try my best to do what I can. It's very hard. Fallacy counter, rebuttal counter. I'm on the rebuttal counter. I have to fix that. Bar counter. Okay. God dang it. I didn't want to move the whole effing thing, man. I have to take it out. Hold on, guys. Please, please hold on. Bro, this is killing me, man. This is killing me, guys. I'm trying to move this damn counter so that it's out of the way, but please, Lord, please. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Jesus. Okay, we move that back. Bam. Ugh.
core they're just ontologically different, or do you think that they're the
Thank you,
same?
Jesus.
If that's the case, if we're equal people and equal people groups, then there must be some other social factors which are relating to this that increase the divorce rate in the black community that doesn't exist yet in the white community. If that's the case, we would specifically target those issues to prevent that from happening, right? We're going to do this
What
across.
is it?
All right, another argument on Andrew's part.
We're going to do this across the board. Well,
what would they be?
For the black community, there's a bunch. One, you have a distinction in economic certitude. The second one is you got a massive abortion rate, which is super problematic. Another one is you use matriarchal structures in the family home instead of patriarchal. Huge issue that you have. By the way, when it was Christian based, it didn't happen. It was a patriarchal structure inside those black homes. And boy, they didn't put up with shit. Not the case anymore. So you have multiple factors here which need to be addressed. I agree with that. Nobody ever disagreed with that, though. What we're trying to do is look at the mitigation of risk, and even for the black community,
handled that already.
if the black community moves in to these conventionally traditional churches, they still will have the same ecclesiastical authority, which will assist them in governing their marriage that white people would have, and it would still assist with the mitigation of risk.
All right, so Andrew's basically saying that back in the day that black people did it like how they used to. And then secondly, if they move on to the ecclesiastical way now, it'll be the same.
What's the alternative? It's just degeneracy, right? The alternative is just like, well, just hump them and never get married. Well, what good does that do for blacks? What good does that do? It just leads to more abortion. It just leads to more degeneracy. It leads to high crime rates, and the single motherhood's out of control. So, like, what are you doing to prevent any of that? Nothing. Nothing. Tell me what.
Okay,
What?
you're not doing anything to prevent.
Okay, thank you. You said things that people have known for the past 45 years,
You
but I
didn't answer the
appreciate that.
question.
Hold on for a second. Thank you for contributing to a common conversation that people know, but you offer no other solution. That's great.
Even
Now,
I
here's
did.
a problem. Here's a problem with this.
I'm gonna wait. I'm not gonna give him a point just yet, but I am gonna wait for his solution. See if he has one.
Scenario, that would be great if we can go back to this. It would be great if we can go back and look at and say that blacks, when they were in the 40s and 50s, they had more stable relationships and marriages than even white folks. Here's the issue.
Okay.
Why stop at the 40s? Let's talk about 1863.
Okay.
Your tradition seems to always hit this point of 1940s where you shine this light of traditionalism that you've never lived in, that seems to be in a snapshot of something that you don't even know about. Then when
Nah, man. I think he's framing it. He's framing it. And he's kind of moving the conversation another way. But this is dodging. It's another dodge.
I fast
You're not
forward
even saying anything, dude.
Again, you're not listening. When I fast forward to 1970, when it falls all apart with no fault divorce, based on what I've been arguing, what happens? All that traditionalism falls apart. Why don't we take it further? Why don't we take it back to bride prices? I mean, how far in tradition you're going to go? You're only going to bang your head around 1940 and 50 because you watched a couple of movies and I Love Lucy episodes? That's not tradition.
Okay.
That was a snapshot in history that you're trying to achieve again.
So-
take
Okay,
it back
not
further.
tradition.
There's
Okay.
no marriages in the
Fine.
black community.
Let's say we'll
Okay.
take it. Let's say we take it all the way back to the 1700s. Let's just say,
Look,
for the sake of it.
That's
right? And-
that's either moving the goalpost or dodging. So we'll just give him a dodge, Cause golly, bro, God, not once yet has Andrew dodged. Oh shit! What happened to my other? What happened to my dodging button, man? Sorry guys, we gotta fix this dodging button real quick. Dodging. Why you dodging, my nigga? My nigga, why you dodging? We moving it back, guys. We moving it back. Look at me, man. Look at man. It's all coming together. But you get another one, man. Golly, man. You get another dodge point, bro. So we can, I mean, it's looking pretty objective to me. I mean, obviously I got a bias, but look, I may be white, right? So that would make me a little bit more aligned with Andrew, but I'm still dipping. I still got the nose, still got the lips that I identify was with the Greg side. So pretty, this is bias, this is objective as you're going to get.
That I'm totally wrong about all this, just for the sake of argument, let's just say.
Okay.
What is your prescription to deal with any of those issues when you're telling men in the black community to not get married? How is that going to assist with abortion? How's that going to assist with strong fathers in the home? How's that going to assist with the only demographic population which can't reproduce itself? How? Can you give me a single prescription to any of that?
Let me tell you something. I agree with you on this.
I just want a prescription, dude.
Here's the problem. I agree with you. And listen, if you had any...
All right, man. I'm going to wait for another one. Let's just see.
...ability to provide this prescription better than Louis Farrakhan or Martin Luther King.
Does that mean no?
Give me a second. Listen to me. These men have tried to pretty much kill this issue, and they haven't.
No, they didn't.
Andrew Wilson certainly not to. Neither will CGA. So I don't have a prescription
That's
for the black
right.
community because
That's
black community is pretty much doomed at this particular point. They have too much degeneracy. They have single mother rates at the 70 and 80%. But I'm going to tell you something. You want to come in here and tell me something about ecclesiastics, and you're telling me about the reality of the black community, how to fix it. Nobody's been able to fix that community. So
okay. That is basically saying, look, the metric that you're asking of me is too much. I'm not going to be able to. So he didn't dodge it this time. He directly addressed it. But let's think about that. Let's take a step back here. This is something I get a lot from blacks. A lot of my black friends. It's funny how I talk about black people like I'm not, but a lot of my homies are basically like, look, we tried it this way and it didn't work in the past, so why are we going to try it again? It's kind of like, bro, it's so black-pilled. Black people can be very black-pilled a lot because it's basically like, well, it failed in the past, so why are we going to try again? That doesn't really give anybody any solutions. You're basically like a sore loser and you don't want to try again. Because I get maybe once or like 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times you try and it doesn't work, but like 1 or 2 times it didn't work. Now you're going to quit. It's such a belly aching. It's a quitter mentality. And Greg didn't dodge that time.
there's nothing you can do, and I can't offer any solution for that.
Look,
now, at that particular point, you're saying the risk is higher. It certainly will be higher under those matriarchal conditions. So you get no argument from me there. So at that point, where's your statistic lie then?
Well,
where's your solution then?
I'll tell you again. So I'm glad
he's going to solve the community problems here. I'd love to hear this.
Listen again. I'm not saying
the black community problem solved by Andrew Wilson.
That says the guy who literally just got done saying, I have 0 prescriptions.
Because nobody does.
Yeah,
that community is here. But I would love to hear the black community solved by Andrew Wilson.
Yeah, so let me tell you a bunch of things that can be done which will help mitigate these
issues. Please do.
First,
it's crazy how Andrew is directly addressing promptly, very promptly.
That you can accomplish, not some pipe dream.
That can be accomplished.
Okay, here we go.
That can be accomplished politically, and already are beginning to be accomplished politically. The first is you have to outlaw abortion. You have to. It has to be outlawed. And not by state where you can just go to the next state and do another abortion, right? One of the biggest problems with promiscuity in the black community is that they use abortion as a form of birth control. Same problem that you see in the white community, by the way. It's just more prevalent in the black community. The next problem that you have there is the lack of religiosity, where there used to be a really strong core religious base of based black men. And they were patriarchal, very patriarchal. And the thing is that it's the idea of these feminist bra-burning lunatics that told black women not to be under the evil patriarchy of their men. And yet, at this point, the men are rolling over and allowing the matriarchy to take over in their own community. Is a return to traditional church ethics going to assist that? Of course it will. Of course it will. How do I know? Because it did then, just a few short years ago. I'm not talking about hundreds of years ago. I'm talking about 60 years ago. By the way, there's other things that you can do too. Getting rid of EBT, getting rid of social programs which are designed to keep people dependent. These are all things which can be politically accomplished. Just like abortion, the starting of banning that was politically accomplished in our lifetime. And the thing is like, you have no prescriptions. Fuck, at least I'm trying here, man.
Man, Andrew, you are Captain Obvious. This is the
Well,
obvious
then why didn't you obviously state it as a prescription?
Because people have exhausted the means to be able to do this. Trust me, there have been people way better than you that dress better than you and shave their beard better than you that can do.
Wait. He just said there's nothing that can be done. And then when Andrew pointed out something that's not necessarily popular, he said, oh, that's obvious.
This, and they haven't been able to accomplish it. You
So
have the
therefore,
Democratic
nobody
Party that is highly influential. 92% of black women voted for Democrats. That's also possibly where most of those women go to church. Most of black churches are overwhelmingly women. It's a women's club. And you're telling me about
Not the
something
traditional
completely
churches.
obvious that everybody has pointed out for 25 years. You're not giving me anything new. This is a completely obvious scenario. And you believe that you've enlightened me over here and you're waiting for me to give you a solution. Let me tell you something.
Not about changing your mind.
You certainly would never do that. Now, at this particular point here, the unsettling experience that men experience in divorce. All right, you're saying you're just going to mitigate it or eradicate it. What about the small percentage of men that experience it and go through issues like high levels of self-deletion, high levels of them not being able to recover financially ever? They're still going to experience this under your scenario. This doesn't disappear.
It'll
What
never
prescription do you have for those men that went to your marriage and they got divorced 33%? What do you do
Well,
with
no, it's
these
not
men?
33%
Okay,
by tradition.
20%, 30%. It still was at a high rate.
I think it would
what
even be
prescription
lower than that,
you would
but-
hope so. You would hope so. But hope is not a strategy. What hold on for a second. What scenario do you have for men that you led into the burning building when they experience separation from their children, parental alienation, high levels of self-deletion? What prescription do you have, sir, that you sold?
Yeah,
Have
that's a
all
great
the, you have
question.
all the answers. Please enlighten us.
Yeah,
What
so-
you're going to do with these men?
so-
Are you going to enforce them to have sex
Yeah,
with
yeah.
other virgins that
I'll
you have on
answer.
the sideline?
I'll answer the question, but
Please
I
do.
want to make a deal with you that if I answer this last question of yours, that you'll actually answer when I ask you after that. Is that
Listen,
a
we're
deal?
not in a court of law. I don't have to answer anything. I can state something.
Yeah, no,
and
but
then
I'm
we
asking
go
if we
back
can
and
make a
forth.
deal. That if I
I'll
answer this
consider
question, you'll answer
answering
my
the
next
question
one.
that you asked me. I'll
So
consider
we're not
it.
going to make a deal on that?
I don't have to make a deal. Listen,
You don't
I'll
have to.
consider
I'm asking if
answering
you will.
something. Possibly. So go ahead.
Possible. Okay, well then I possibly will hold the debate hostage until you possibly make a deal with
All
me.
right, great. So that gives me the floor.
So we'll just sit here and
They
stare
give
at
me
each
the
other,
floor.
or we
Well,
just
here's the deal.
filibuster each other. Like
At this particular point,
so
oh, you don't
I-
want to.
so I can
you want
answer
to answer it. You want to
Yeah,
answer it.
but
I
you're
know
not
you
going
wanna
to. But you're not
answer
going to answer mine. I just want that clear. You're not going to answer mine after. You're just going to
it. I
filibuster and
answered the
stonewall
question.
again.
I ask you the question. Put it on the table.
So this is pretty simple, right? What you're proposing here. Every policy prescription which is made anywhere in any nation, with any people group, from the tribal all the way to the national level, is going to be a trade-off, no matter what. There's always going to be some people who are disaffected by it in some small percentage, and there's not a damn thing you can do about it. We don't run societies based on outliers. The second thing is, when it comes to suicide in men, particularly, one of the best ways to mitigate that is to begin the process of eliminating deployment of troops abroad. Because one of the biggest contributing factors to male suicide, including in marriage with divorce, is their veteran status. And it's because they really depend on their family to assist them with what's going on mentally from the fact they've been deployed in these wars. And one thing you could really do that would help that's what the American First policy is we want to bring your troops home, no more foreign wars. That will greatly help and aid with this problem. And by the way, policy-wise, it's already been aiding with this as
Okay,
Trump has
this
wound
is-
these wars down. And by the way,
Let's
I'll
go ahead and-
point out
That's a good. That's a good one. I like it.
I'll
Go
point
ahead.
out a few more things that
Oh,
you can
please do. Yes.
So another thing that you can do is at the national level, right? From propaganda works. I'm sure you agree. Propaganda absolutely works.
Absolutely.
If at a national level you had propaganda, which instead of showing LGBTQ flags, degeneracy, girl bossing, shit like this, which is what you see everywhere, you had institutional family units instead. Right? And that was what you saw everywhere that you went. And that was where the social status was. At the top-down level, that would really help change people's psyches around. The same way they were indoctrinated towards the degeneracy, same way you can indoctrinate them out of degeneracy. That's how we got a whole nation to smoke. And it's also how we got a whole nation to quit smoking. So the thing is, like, there really are good prescriptions here. And the only thing I get from you...
Wait a minute.
Hang on.
We're talking about
hang on.
self-deletion
Almost
of
done.
men.
Almost done.
Okay.
Yes. That'll help with self-deletion of men. Yes. And it's one of the biggest contributing factors. Single motherhood, another huge contributing factor. These are all things which we need to mitigate. And by the way, these are all great prescriptions. You said I don't have none.
No, for a second. That's what you said. Now, here's the deal. These are great prescriptions. I happen to live in the time that you're talking about when the FCC didn't allow degeneracy, and I was able to live through the time where they started to allow it. So I, unfortunately, was able to see a time where America was great, and now we had dysfunction. So I agree with some of those things. That took place probably 40 or 50 years. It would take a very, very
Maybe 100
unique
years.
scenario for that to occur when you have Cardi B and this type of music out here. and she's a single mother divorcee with a man that is having babies.
See,
with
now
multiple
that's a
men.
good argument.
Okay, so how?
That's an actual argument.
Hold
The
on for a
first one
second.
I've
No,
heard.
that's something that you agree with. That's okay.
No, that's an
okay.
actual
That's okay.
argument.
No, it's an agree. You just agree. You can be humble enough to say you.
That's
agree
an actual
with me.
argument.
Listen, you don't have to be. You don't have to belittle or attempt to belittle.
Well,
I'm here a grown
I'm
ass
not.
man.
The argument
just say
is
you agree.
propaganda
Hey,
takes
listen,
time.
listen. Just say you agree. You want me
It's
to
not
answer
a matter of
just say
agreement.
you
It's a
agree.
matter of
Just
recognizing
say
that
you
was an
agree. It's
argument.
okay, sir.
It's
I know
the
you-
only
I know you're
argument
not
you've
used
made
to
the whole
somebody
debate.
across from you. No, just say you agree. You can humble yourself in the
I don't agree.
Now,
It's just an argument.
Listen, you agree.
It's
Be a
just-
big boy.
No, it's
Be a
not.
big boy.
I don't
Now,
agree,
listen,
but
hold
it's
on
an
for a second.
argument.
Here's a second. Here's a
Yeah,
second.
he's on a dodging streak, man.
You're telling me it's going to take 50 to 100 years. I ask you about a man that's considering taking his life today. You're telling me about propaganda machine. Okay, there are men here that are been abandoned from their kids. They've been alienated. I'm talking about today. I'm not talking about in the church. I'm talking about today.
Okay, I'll answer
You're
you
telling me
today.
about some scenario where you're going to change liberalism and bring in righteous conservatism. That's not going to work today. We need solutions for men today, not 50 years from the turning point meeting. Okay, at this point, today we have men that are in dire need of help.
I agree.
They're going through unsettling situations and divorces. This is who I speak to, and you keep telling me obvious answers about propaganda and changing this and going to church. This sounds great on paper, but that doesn't happen today. You don't start that today. Can you give me?
Wait a minute. Is that not moving the goalpost? Because Andrew asked for solutions and he's saying no right now. Greg asked for a solution, man. Let me just go back. I know whatever you guys don't like it, but fuck it, man. Let me just see. 114. We're at 114.
You want
It's
me to
not a
answer
matter of
questions? Just say
agreement.
you
It's a
agree.
matter of
That unique just to live through the time where these prescriptions. I happen to live in the time that you're talking about when the FCC didn't allow degeneracy, and I was able to live through the time where they started to allow it. So I, unfortunately, was able to see a time where America was raped.
No, that's not moving the goalposts. Back to 114.
Pesky old traditional churches that from when by communities mostly found today.
They're trying to see that they're going to
Back
start
to
making message that's
114.
real from the
Yes,
pulpit.
but it's built into the question. What you're building into the that's built in, wasn't second. Now, if you ask me, can Andrew Group
It happened today. You don't start that today. Can you give me a one solution you got that starts today, Mister? I got all the solutions. We
you-
can start today.
Yeah. If you assist with funding MRA groups today, MRA groups today who are trying to legislate and get legislation passed today to create preventative measures for those men today. Now, if you ask me, can you do anything about a man who might be willing to blow his head off right this second because he's already going through the events of divorce, which I had nothing to do with, wasn't there for, could never do anything about.
Nobody can do
Can you
anything about
prevent?
it.
Of course, nobody can. But that's built
Even
into
your righteous
but that's
ecclesiastic
built, that's
reverend
built
from the pulpit.
Yes, but it's built into the question. What you're building into the question is probably the worst framing ever. Andrew, if somebody right this second is willing to do
Here we
something
go.
bad,
Here's
can
the-
you stop them?
Here it goes. Here it goes.
Moving
Look at the
goalposts.
I don't
scenario.
understand.
But your scenario is
Yeah.
to change MRA funding when women vote out.
Well,
vote men
it's a
60 to
fallacy.
40%, and you have women lobbyist groups and zero men lobby groups. That's what you're telling
That's
me.
really
We're going to
funny.
change to fund MRA groups. When
Congress
MRA
makes
groups,
the law,
hold on
not
for a
the
second.
voters, sir.
Hold on. When
Congress makes the law.
MRAs are on some terror lists. Yes.
Yeah, that's
so
true.
you're telling me that they're going to start just switching funding. We're just going to switch funding over here
Yeah.
to a terrorist
The
organization,
thing is-
according to some of these websites.
Yeah, I would say
this is just a pie in the
you
sky.
know,
All
it's
your
funny.
solutions are completely
Not
pie
only
in
is
the
it
sky.
not pie in the sky, but I'll give you an
Absolutely,
example.
though.
I'll give you an
I
example.
think that was a rebuttal for Greg. Hold on.
Women vote out.
It's like worst framing ever. Andrew, if somebody right this second is willing to do
Here we
something
go.
bad,
Here's
can
the-
you stop them?
Here it
It's
goes.
like,
Here it goes. Look at
I
the
don't
scenario.
understand.
But your scenario is
Yeah.
to change MRA funding when women out vote men 60 to 40%, and you have women lobbyist groups and zero men lobby groups. That's what
Yeah,
you're
that's
telling me.
what
We're
I'm
going to change to fund MRA groups. When
Congress
MRA
makes
groups,
the law,
hold on
not
for a
the
second.
voters, sir.
Hold on. When
Congress makes the law.
MRAs are on some terror lists. Yes.
Yeah, that's
so
true.
you're telling me that they're going to start just switching funding. We're just going to switch funding over here
Yeah.
to a terrorist
The thing
organization,
is-
according to some of these websites.
Yeah, I would say
this is just a pie in the
you
sky.
know,
All
it's
your
funny.
solutions are completely
Not
pie
only
in the
is it
sky.
not pie in the sky, but I'll give you an
Absolutely,
example.
though.
I'll give you an example.
The least possible situation.
Well, I'll give you an example of where it's already happened. So I would argue that the traditional churches are MRAs, that they are men's rights advocacy groups, and that's where traditional masculinity is mostly found today, where men are even allowed to be masculine.
There's
hang
more-
on. Let me finish my point. And it is the case that those MRAs, in this case the traditional churches, already got abortion rolled back, didn't they? They're already moving these things back. They're already at the forefront of fighting degeneracy. They are also the ones who are at the charitable forefront of helping those same veterans who are blowing their heads off when the government doesn't even pay any attention to them. When by the time the government was all done doing any of these reforms when it came to veterans associations, it was those pesky old traditional churches that from Sky Daddy that you hate so much. They were the ones on the forefront who were actually assisting those people and not doing that.
Oops. Let me just.
While you asked me this question, Andrew, what can you do right this second for a guy who's going to blow his head off? Well, probably nothing. But
course
neither
not.
can you.
Of course
But
not.
at least we can do something about that not happening to others.
Okay, so that's very easy to accomplish in red states, and red states overwhelmingly were the states that got those things passed.
Yeah.
They were already going to get it passed without the interaction of these so-called righteous individuals.
That
were
was
saying,
done
hold
at
on
the
for a
federal
second.
level,
Now
not
let's
the
just,
state level.
yeah, through Donald Trump. And,
Yeah, the
and a lot-
federal
now
level.
watch
It
this.
doesn't- it has nothing to
But
do with which state.
California, Nevada, these
Uh-huh.
are all states that you can easily drive to and get it done because they're red
Which is why we
or
need
they're
a
blue
federal
states.
ban, yeah.
And at that particular point, are we going to get a federal ban? Do
Yeah,
you
we
believe
very
have?
possibly could. Yeah,
Possible.
it looks good. It looks
It looks good, but
yeah.
we don't have it today. All right, so we don't.
You
We're not
can't-
again. We don't have it.
So what do you
and
wanna
more
do?
than likely,
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you.
Uh-huh.
You said it's possible, and I say more than possible. You're not going to get it. All right, so at that point,
That's what
now
they
you
said
have
about
an
Roe v.
issue.
Wade, and they were wrong.
They're wrong today. They're wrong possibly. We
Bro.
possibly might get it, but California they're not doing it. I can drive to California
there's
right
a
now.
federal ban,
When
they
there's a
can't
woman I
stop
can
it.
drive, and I can take a woman to Nevada.
Yeah,
You
but
can
it's
take her
already
many places
decreasing the
right now.
rates. It's already working. Like, what are you talking about? It's already effective,
All it does is just send women to another place. They're
and it
gonna find
reduces the amount of abortions.
It reduces it so
significantly.
Now, we're not.
Reducing.
That's all we're talking about. Reducing it. We're
Yeah.
talking about now the unsettling experiences.
So do nothing.
We're doing something.
Yeah.
We're doing something. I'm informing
Yeah.
people. I'm informing people. I'm giving people the information.
To do what?
And you're telling me
What do you
a pie in
wanna
the sky
do?
solution that might take
Tell me
forever.
what men should do.
I'm telling you what they're
What?
doing. All right. At this particular point, this
Yeah.
is the question that you've been wanting to ask me. All right. I put out a book called 52 Things That Men Should Do Prior to Considering Marriage.
Okay.
What it does is take it through a step-by-step approach
Uh-huh.
of what they need to look out for just to detect.
What does that
Hold
do
on for a
for
second.
right
Hold on for a
now?
second. Just to detect this man's considering. I've had plenty of men that said they were considering marriage. They found the red flags
Uh-huh.
because of my book, and they stopped getting married to a woman
My
that
book
eventually
helps.
they saw would have been bad for them. That would have cost them hundreds of thousands of dollars. So I'm doing something very positive. Now watch this.
This is
you mitigate
great.
you mitigate the red flags. You allow
Mitigate the
men to
risk.
understand what the process of marriage is.
Mitigating the risk.
Then you're going into possibly telling them what the state is involved in, how your children are affected, parental alienation, the odds of self-deletion,
Uh-huh.
and so forth and so on. So,
to-
that's an
so I want to
obvious
make sure I got this right.
opportunity for men to learn.
So I want to get this right.
You're telling me
what
a pie in
you're
the sky
doing-
possibility of changing
Yeah,
laws.
so what you're
then women
doing-
outvote men 60 to 40%.
Yeah. So you wrote. It doesn't, dude. You don't even understand the political process and how it works. Voting itself, when you're talking about
lobby groups.
yeah, you're
What
talking
men's
about lobby
lobby
groups and
What men
NGOs.
lobby groups? What male lobby groups do they
The
have?
traditional churches.
Okay, we're back to church again.
They're the ones
Okay,
who
we're
do all
back-
the lobbying on behalf of men.
They're
Yeah,
doing
and
it
that's the
on behalf of the
thing.
men that-
I'm not sure whoever's watching. Andrew hasn't really changed his solutions. He's had the more coherent position because he's still able to answer Greg's attacks and rebuttals from the position that he's held. He hasn't had to switch around and say, well, what about this and what about that? Or yeah, you're right, but his position actually has been stable this entire time. He's been trying to get more of a coherent understanding of Greg Adams' approach or his arguments. So Greg has had some arguments, but are they central to the countering of mitigation? Not necessarily. And when it comes to Andrew's defense, is basically hasn't really been touched yet.
It's not on
It's
behalf
for
of
all men. This abortion
It's
ban
typical-
helps
it's
all
typical-
men,
It,
not some. They're charities to men who are going to kill themselves. Helps all men, not some.
it doesn't help all men in that situation.
Yes,
it helps
it
the men.
helps.
Because listen,
Yes, it
I'm going to
does.
tell you where it doesn't.
Okay,
There
why
might be
doesn't
a
it?
woman
Why doesn't
considering
Greg?
getting an abortion, and he wants to keep the kid. He has no mitigating risk.
They're the only ones trying to change that.
Exactly. Who is?
The traditional
You're saying the
churches.
traditional churches.
Yes.
All right. At that point, that doesn't help him.
Yes, it does help him.
So you're saying at that point it's only the traditional church when you have hundreds of female lobbyist groups and you have them out
They're the
Question.
ones combating those
And
female
that's it.
lobbying groups.
And
Yes,
that's it. How are they doing? Only the red
they're
states.
doing great.
Only the red
No,
states.
at the federal level, they're doing great. You're wrong.
You can still go to other states to get it done.
Yes, but we've still
this point.
managed to mitigate it even in those states. It's a
That's-
war. It's a political
that's
war.
right,
That's how it works.
exactly.
And not only that, let's point this out. Your whole solution here, I wrote a book to help mitigate future events. Oh, great. Andrew, what are you trying to do? Help mitigate future events.
Exactly.
Oh, right now, right this second, what can I do to help? Andrew says right this second, if guy has a 357 in his mouth, he's going to pull the trigger, he can't do anything. You're totally right, but neither can you by your own admission.
Correct.
So there we go there. When we're looking at the future, though, and I say, let's do all of these different prescriptions, which we can actually politically accomplish and move towards, you say, that's all fucking pie in the sky, blah, 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 blah. I ask, well, what can you do as far as future prescriptions?
And
You
I
say,
told them-
blacks are fucked, and I have absolutely no prescriptions for it.
No,
Sorry,
actually, I
guys.
wrote a book, 52 things that men could consider
To
prior
mitigate
marriage.
divorce risk. The
To
same thing I'm
find
trying
out
to do.
If they're marrying the right woman. So you're just
Mitigating
mad,
divorce
that I have one
Okay.
solution. You have
Mitigation. So they're in agreement, but they're quibbling over dumb stuff. So ultimately, the for what it's starting to look like to me, honestly, I'm gonna do this with my hands so I can remember. Basically, coach is tacitly agreeing, and it's not actually being it's not being said, but coach is agreeing with some of his prescriptions because he has some of the same ones. And if I bet if you went down prescription for prescription, Andrew wouldn't necessarily disagree with a lot of them. Maybe like not getting married, obviously he wouldn't. But if you were going to get married, what would you do? If you take that robust amount of prescriptions, you add it to Andrew's, it'll probably even be better.
Another, and we don't
Mine's
agree with
better.
it. That's what you believe. I think yours is pie in the sky. So that's just
I don't
your
see
own
how it
belief
can be pie in
system.
the sky.
When
It's
not
affecting
working,
way
you're
more men
asking-
than your
you're
book is.
asking- no, my book actually has 15,000+. You have
So?
how many? Hold on. You have
So?
how many ecclesiastic marriages that your church pastors are going to go into the bedroom and enforce marriages? You can't even
Nobody
give me a number.
ever proposed
you couldn't
that.
even
You're
give me a
such a
number.
liar.
You can't
It's
even give me a
such a
number.
liar.
Yeah, so that's a straw man. He keeps bringing it up too. I don't know if I think I might have already added that, but he keeps bringing that up.
You said that.
No, because so the one time he did that, that was a question that he asked. But this time he did it, that was a straw man. Oh man, yep. I might have to add like straw men on their positions and everything, because that's a straw man. That's a straight up fallacy. Dang, man, coach, man.
Give me a
Nobody
number.
said
Okay.
that the pastors are going to go in the bedroom and enforce anything.
Okay, social pressure.
Stop lying.
All your social
Just
pressure.
Stop
Hey,
lying,
listen,
dude.
listen. Where's your social pressure? How many people do you have in your ecclesiastic marriages? How many people got married under that?
Millions.
Please give me a number.
Millions of
Show
people
me a
have an
number. Go ahead.
ecclesiastical
Can you type
authority.
it up?
That's
Go ahead and type it up.
People have an ecclesiastical marriage. They may have a
No,
state
under
cert
your
also.
under your scenario.
What do you want me to type?
Yeah, we don't.
How many?
We
you
don't know.
Exactly.
We don't know exactly.
But you're sneezing at my number, but you don't know at
We
all.
know for
hey, listen,
sure
there's a lot
that
you don't
even
know.
if it was
There's
the
a
case
lot you
that you
don't know.
never adopted the state,
But you don't have any number.
even if it's the
Can
case,
you-
hang on,
where's
hang
the
on,
number?
hang on. Even if it's the case that all they ever did was get a state marriage certificate and never even followed that portion of what I'm saying, right? The number is still lower by the state's own numbers. It's still lower in
Can you
traditional
give me
churches.
a number of your marriages that you're proposing that we're all going to follow?
We don't
so
know. We
they
don't
can
have
communicate?
polls
You
on it
don't
yet.
have a number.
Yeah, we don't know for sure.
I would venture to say it's very little, under 100.
Sure.
All
So
right.
what?
So now we got.
No, it's not under 100.
Okay. Certainly
No.
under 100.
No, it's not.
All right. I
Well,
don't hear
people-
anybody talking about it other than you.
Yeah, well, that's because you're not around traditional
Okay.
churches by your own admission. But yeah, there's
Traditional
people who have crowning ceremonies and get married by
Traditional
churches
churches-
who don't get a state cert.
Traditional churches.
In fact, there might be data on that. You should look.
please look it up.
There might be
Under
actually.
your scenario.
Yeah, under my scenario. But the thing is that
Ecclesiastic
even if we
marriage is under
grant,
here.
even if we were
So
to
we got
grant,
125
even
marriages.
if we were to grant it,
Let me just. Okay, he's just granting it, so we
still,
don't have
on
to
the
look it
state's
up.
own admission, the divorce rate's still significantly lower for a reason.
20 to 30%. Okay, so
That's
it's
huge.
still lower. It is nice.
Significantly
It would be
lower.
nice. You still have men under unsettling divorce conditions. You still have men under state-funded divorce. You still
Yeah.
have men under child support. You still have men under parental alienation. You still have sexist marriages.
2 out of
you haven't
10.
accomplished most of these
Two
things.
out of 10.
2 out of 10 what?
That would be 2 out of 10. It's 20%, right? It's 2 out of 10 of those marriages, as opposed to your system.
4 out of 10.
Yeah, in your
5
system.
out of 10.
In your system, it's much higher.
It's the system that exists.
No, it's not.
But you're
Listen,
telling me 150 marriages. This is
No.
all of these scenarios. And I have to be honest with you. This wasn't much of a debate.
Yeah, I know,
because
you
much
lost
of your,
every
no,
point.
listen. Much of your scenarios were
Uh-huh.
make believe. To
Oh,
be
okay,
honest
they're all
with you,
make-believe.
they were pretty make believe. You would have to have an extremely considerable movement to be able to accomplish them.
Like
which
millions
doesn't.
of millions.
All right, Ryan. Let's see. Yeah, I don't think. Yeah, Brian says bad move by CGA to debate Andrew without an actual solution. Hopefully, he can learn to reform his position. This is looking bad for him. Yeah, it really is. It really is.
To me,
people?
you would have to have millions of people to do
Can you
exactly
pull up how
what
many
you're-
Catholic and
No, no,
Orthodox
no,
are in the
no, no,
United
no,
States?
listen.
It's my turn to ask. I can ask him to
Please
pull
do,
the
please
stats.
do. But that's not the number
How-
I'm looking
how many?
for. That's
Yeah,
not the
that is the
I'm
number
looking
we're
for.
looking for.
We're looking for ecclesiastic marriages under your scenario.
No, listen. Even
That's
if it
the
were
only
the
way
case,
it works for
even
you.
if it were the case, do you agree with me that if you take the state out of marriage, that is going to assist in the reduction of
We
divorce?
can't take the state out of marriage.
Why not?
That's what you're telling me.
Yeah,
You
why
can't tell me
can't
how
you?
many people have done it.
Yeah, but why can't you do it?
Because no fault divorce, a woman can go into divorce you, even if because you're not under her control. The
How if you're not
ecclesiastics are
married
under
to
the authority.
her? By the state, you're not married. How can she take you to divorce court? Can you explain that to me?
I asked you this earlier. Have you been through a divorce?
It doesn't matter.
That's
Answer
a
the
yes.
question.
That's a yes. So you've been through a divorce.
Why does that matter?
All right,
What is
because,
it pertinent to the
because
debate?
this is why. Can I finish? You've been telling me I'm cutting you off. You won't let me finish.
Bro, I
At
want
this
an answer to my
see,
question.
There we go again.
Can
Oh,
you
my
answer my
goodness.
question?
I mean, I can play the game you're playing.
You just
Can I-
won't answer questions.
Jeez. All right, listen. I mean, I thought you were a tough guy. Listen, under this scenario, a marriage, even if it's ceremonial, religious, it doesn't matter if she files for the divorce. You will still be going in court to fight that.
How
I don't
would
care.
you file for divorce if you're not married by the state, dude?
Listen,
Can you answer my
completely missing
question?
this. You're completely missing.
Wait
it.
a minute. Can you file for divorce if you're not married? Can you file for divorce if you're not married? Okay, well, there you go. As a divorce is a legal process for ending marriage. However, if you are in a long-term relationship without being married, you will need to address issues like property division, child custody, and support through legal means, such as a civil lawsuit or by creating a written agreement. Some states also recognize common law marriage, which requires a legal divorce to dissolve. But ultimately, no, you can't. So, Michael Ryan exactly says, Ghost Rider. Yep.
This is what tells me you haven't been through one. Have you talked to a divorce attorney? A woman can file. You have to respond and provide evidence that you were not married. Now, you and your common law, you living with your kids, it's going to be difficult. I'm trying to give you some information.
That's common law marriage.
Okay.
That's different. In some states, there is no common law marriage. So
that's
just
not
answer,
common law marriage.
So just answer
Listen,
one. Okay.
California doesn't even have common law, and that exists. It could be ceremonial. You could get married in Fiji. It doesn't matter. As soon as you get back here, if you practice marriage, the whole institution, at that particular point, if she files, you, sir, will have to respond to that suit.
Yeah.
If you do, I would hope and pray that the judge, not God, grant you your wish. At that point, your argument fails because you then would have to say, my ecclesiastic reverend on the little house on the prairie granted this marriage, but it doesn't count under the state.
I want to make
she
sure
can do this, and you have to respond.
Can you
to
help
it.
me with this? Because I
I'm
am
helping you a
actually
lot.
confused. So let's say a woman and a man went out to a field and declared themselves
We got a
married.
scenario. Let's say if.
Let's say if a
that's the
man
one.
went out to a field with a woman and declared that they're married.
Correct.
You're saying she can still go to a divorce court and divorce him.
She can file for the divorce. You
How?
have to respond. You
Yeah,
have
with
to
what?
respond.
Yeah, what does that mean,
You're-
though? That doesn't mean
Again,
anything.
I'm informing you.
What are
What does
talking
that
about?
mean? This is how a lawsuit works.
Okay,
She's
a
a petitioner.
lawsuit.
She files. She says, we walked on coals. We went outside.
Yeah.
This was a union. I consider it a marriage. Everybody knows and addresses us as a marriage.
Yeah.
This is in non-common law states. We receive mail at this place. We've been living under the same roof for this many years. You will have to respond to these allegations. Now, you're going to have to say on your petition, this is not true. We have an ecclesiastic marriage and a prenup under God, and we live together, but we weren't married.
Is this a
That's a response
that
to the
a-
lawsuit,
is
and
it-
then you proceed
I
to
see.
trial
Is
and a
this
hearing.
is this a lawsuit or a divorce?
Divorce is a lawsuit.
Okay, so I'm
Divorce
curious.
is a lawsuit.
Can you look this up?
Is
Can
divorce
you
a
file
lawsuit?
for divorce without ever getting married?
Oh my goodness, you are slow. You can file a lawsuit for anything.
So then it's
So
not a
anybody
divorce.
can sue you for anything.
Okay,
Okay.
but-
So if you go into there and she
So they're just
I think I might understand what Greg is saying. Basically, if you have assets and you're not married, and technically you're not married because the church, you guys had a ritual, but not the actual sign of the papers. If that woman wants to get anything from you, she can still file a lawsuit. That sounds to me correct, because if you have an accusation to bring or a tort in law, yes, that will happen. However, it's not a divorce. So I think Greg is maybe not communicating it that clearly, but I think I understand the spirit of what he's saying. Because if your wife wants half of your house, even though you guys aren't married, and she's like, yeah, but I have a utility bill, I got this and that, that's still going to count.
just suing you?
Yes, it's
Okay,
a
but
lawsuit.
that's not a divorce. Come on,
Says-
dude.
It's a
Can we
lawsuit.
pull this up? Can you file for a divorce without getting married? Divorce is a legal process that ends in legally recognized marriage.
You never obtained a marriage license and your marriage was never registered, summarized according to state law. The courts have no marriage to dissolve. You're full of
Hold on
shit.
for a
You're just
second,
saying
hold
that they
on.
can.
No, no,
You're
no.
full of shit.
Listen,
they can
they
just sue
have-
you for whatever.
You said they have no marriage to
Yeah, you're
dissolve.
saying that
You
they're
still
just gonna
have to
sue you.
No. You still have
Come
to.
on.
You still have to respond to the lawsuit.
Yeah, but you don't have to go to the divorce court,
You
dude.
do.
No,
That's
you
where
don't.
file the response.
No,
You still have
that's
to
not
go.
a divorce court.
That is the divorce
No,
court.
it's not. It's a
That
court
is
of.
the
It's
divorce
the
court. Listen,
circuit court or some shit, not the divorce court.
Listen, this is.
You got
this
caught in 4K.
That's
You're full of shit.
ChatGPT. That's ChatGPT.
You're full
In
of
this
it, dude.
situation here, we can bring a lawyer in to
Bring
resolve
him.
this and say, can she file for a divorce? You're saying what the
No.
outcome is. Hold on for a second. You're saying the outcome, they can't legally enforce it. That's what you hope the outcome is. You hope the outcome is. You still have to
Dude,
respond.
all you're saying is that a woman can sue you for anything.
Correct.
Yeah, but that's not the same as filing for a divorce
Hold on
through
for a
the
second.
divorce courts,
That's
dude.
where they would file it.
No,
would
they
file
can't.
it-
No, they're not filing
Yeah,
in the
that's a
divorce
rebut.
court.
My gosh. All right. That's where they would file it. In the divorce court.
They
That's
would
where
file a
it there.
lawsuit.
No, they would file it in the family court. Trust me. Now, here's the
family
thing.
court's
Hold on
different,
for a
though.
That's the divorce court.
Wait a second.
Family court is the divorce court.
Wouldn't you have to do that under specific criteria for family court, like a kid's involved or something? You can just
Correct. So, in the
Come
scenario,
on,
hold on for a
dude,
second.
That's not the same
Hold
as
on, hold on,
divorce
hold on for a second.
proceedings. This is ridiculous.
All right.
That's
don't-
ridiculous.
Yeah,
Listen,
the
listen.
argument's falling apart because he's having to use different metrics that he's not made clear at the first initial argument. The argument is falling apart. The argument's falling apart, man. And that was his last one. But it's a weak argument. It's a nasty argument. It's not that good of an argument. Well, he still gets that.
The family court is what people call the divorce court. There's no building
Yeah,
that
yeah,
says
I agree
divorce
with
court.
that.
You understand
Yeah,
that?
yeah, I agree with that.
So you have a woman with children
Yeah.
that you say you're not married to. If she files,
Yeah.
you still have to go under family court jurisdiction.
Yeah.
You still have to respond
Because there's children, yes.
because there's children.
Yeah.
At that point, my point is made. She
Yeah.
has filed. They may say the divorce doesn't count.
Yeah.
But now, how do we deal with these children?
Yeah, but that was
Those
never-
children- That is a part of marriage. Did you not have children with the woman?
Come on, dude. So if you're not,
That is a part of
so as long as
marriage.
you don't have children, then they can't do that.
Correct. That's what you're saying. But you're saying
No,
you're
I'm
gonna have
asking.
children.
I'm actually asking.
You're saying they're going to have children, correct?
Yes.
You're going to go to family court
Yes, you could go to family court.
if
yes.
she files for the divorce.
Not for divorce. They could go for
If
like
she
motions
files
for
child
support or all sorts of
any
things.
of these.
That's
That
not
is the family
divorce.
court.
Yeah.
When we talk about what men deal with when they deal with marriage and the result is a divorce, one of the things they deal with is child support. Also,
Yeah,
domestic
but
violence.
that's sneaky. That's sneaky, Greg. That's sneaky. That's not what you're originally talking about because you lost on proving that it was a divorce. You lost on that. So now you're trying to square a circle and say, oh, well, this is what we're talking about. This is what a lot of men go through. But that's not what was initially your claim. Because if you would have just said, if you're married at front, then yeah, we would understand the family courts would get involved. But because you didn't say that, this is just a lawsuit. So when there's proceedings on, hey, you owe me this, that's different than, hey, I want custody of kids. That's totally different. That's totally different. I almost want to take your argument point away from you.
It falls under the family court. So you cannot be married.
You have a problem here with this.
Listen,
so
that
I
can
agree.
fall under
I
the
agree
family
that
court.
if you have children, that could go through the family court system. Nobody ever disputed
Okay,
that, though.
so you're still dealing with issues,
but
right?
hang on, but that's the different one. That's different than filing for divorce. You can't file for divorce if you're never married. That's
Now
one.
you're going to
And
child
two,
support, yes.
and hang on, two. The second problem here is the reason that men usually lose their custody when it comes to divorce and divorce court is because women plot. They plot escape hatches. So what they do is they go, okay,
Of course they do.
look, I'm going to take 2 years, make sure that you're fucking destitute on the way out, and then I'm filing in divorce court.
Correct.
You're going to get hit over the head from what happens in divorce court.
Absolutely.
Whole different ballgame, though. If it's the case that you have children with a woman and she goes and she files for custody, you're actually in a much better position to get custody at that
Correct.
point than if it was the case that you were married through the state, dude. Much better
Well,
positioned.
we don't know that.
No, no,
for a
100%
second.
that's
You don't,
the case.
You don't know that. You're guessing. Can you
No,
give me some
yeah,
data on
there
that
is
one?
actually
There's
data.
data on
Yeah,
that
yeah.
one. Okay, go ahead and look it up. But we don't know that.
Yes,
That's just
if
a
it's
guess.
the case, hang on, if it's the case,
If you're not
because
legally
that
married.
men who fight for custody,
Correct.
right?
Yes, that's correct.
But they're in a better position to fight for custody if they're not going through the divorce court, if they're only getting motions for child support or
Well, we
child
know.
custody.
Actually, I'll tell you something. If you are not married to them, you actually fare a little bit worse. If you're not legally married, that's true. If you're not legally married, let's just take a baby mom, baby dad situation. If he's not legally married to them, they typically fare a little bit worse.
Yes.
In custody cases.
I just said that.
Right. Correct.
Yeah.
So at that point, they're still faring worse. If
No,
they're
they're
married,
faring better, right?
if they're not married.
Yes, they'd be
Their
faring
baby
better.
mom, no, they would actually fare worse.
How?
Well, ask any guy that's been in court. We can look at this.
Yeah.
When they're not legally married to
Yeah.
the woman, they go through a custody battle.
Yeah.
When they're legally married, they do better getting better custody.
Yes, men get better custody.
When
So
they're
that would be a
legally
better
married.
outcome.
If they're not legally married,
Yes.
typically they fare worse getting custody
Why?
because they're not married to the woman. This is typically it just depends on jurisdiction.
It's because of the unplanned nature of it.
Correct.
But if it's
Exactly.
planned-
But if it's planned, we don't know.
No, we do know,
The judge
actually.
doesn't know.
Hang on.
How do they know?
We do.
So now you're saying
Nope.
you're going in there
Hang
to
on.
use that we're not legally married, but we're married.
Here's how we can logically. I think I can actually logically demonstrate this, and I think you'll agree. Okay, so the reason that men tend to fare bad in custody disputes and in divorces is because it's unexpected. So usually they're getting hit with it, and it's unexpected. Even if it should be expected, because it's unexpected, they have time to plot, they have time to plan, this kind of thing, right?
Domestic violence
And so they
issues.
can they can
Correct.
hit them with it,
Right.
That's
That's normally what happens.
yeah, that's
You
normally
can't mitigate that. Or are you suggesting you
can
Okay.
mitigate. You can mitigate it. Here's how you can mitigate it. If you're in a church, you have
52 things. Go ahead.
Yeah, if you have the ecclesiology, the ecclesiastic community, the community actually supports you when you're going through these problems of
They're not going
divorce.
to be in court with you.
No, they actually help you with funding. They help you with
They're
everything.
not going to be in
Yes.
court with you. They're not going to be.
They
in
don't
court
need
with
to
you.
go
They
to
don't have
court
the-
with you.
So you're
Money
gonna
is what talks, man, and bullshit walks.
Exactly. I agree with that. That I can agree with.
Yeah.
But they're not going to be able to fund
Well, I
that.
tell-
to
they
get
do
you.
all the time.
Listen,
They
all right,
assist them with custody
125
agreements all the
these
time.
small marriages, I
Yeah.
would love to see these out. They should do a documentary on them.
They do.
All right, so we can see
We do
that.
have stats
But
on this.
most people aren't under these, so we can say that's clearly the case.
But
In
that-
those
so what?
situations here,
So
under those
what, though?
situations, you have men that are not under this veil of, I don't know what it is, okay, that do fare worse when they're not married. Okay, that's typically what's going to happen.
Because the childbirth itself is unplanned. But if they're with a woman long term
Yes.
as a partner, they actually do better.
Absolutely, and I was
even
one of
if they're
those,
not
and I was
married.
one of those.
Even if they're not married.
Typically,
yes.
That's but sometimes
So it's still
not
better
the
outcomes.
situation.
You're just talking about the unplanned nature.
Not necessarily. Not necessarily.
I mean,
they're
mostly,
they're
though.
having because there's a lot of factors here. I mean, we can make things black and white. The guy doesn't have the ability to maintain a custody. He lives in another
Yes,
city.
because
there's
it's
so many
unplanned.
other factors.
Because it's
There's
unplanned.
so
I
many
knocked
other
her up.
factors.
That's
No,
different than I was with her
they
for a
were in
couple of years.
relationship. They were in a relationship. All right.
Yeah, but knocking her up usually happens early.
It could. It typically does.
It
because
typically
that's where
does.
men. And
Yep.
at that point, now they were raising the kid for 2 or 3 years. They were together.
But this goes
and
to
then
my
it happens.
point.
But it also goes to my point. In this situation here, right here, we have a lot of things that we like to make black or white and easily
No,
solve.
it's all nuanced. I agree.
Okay, very much nuanced.
Yeah.
At that point, then you're just telling us, oh, I'll just throw this aspect of religion on top of it and it'll fix it. Or it'll mitigate. It'll mitigate it. It'll
Yes,
mitigate.
mitigate.
It doesn't eliminate it. It
Yeah,
just
but-
makes it less. You're not gonna eliminate it.
Wait. That's moving the goalposts again. Andrew never mentioned if the topic of the debate is mitigation and you're saying, yeah, I agree with you, but It wasn't eliminated. This is moving the goalposts again. This is moving the goalposts again, guys. Look, man, I'm trying to give my brother some passes here, but that's another minute. That's another one. That's another one. That's another moving the goalpost, bro. Not only is it, it's a fallacy. It's a fallacy. So that's what we're gonna have to add to the scoreboard. To the scoreboard. Damn. 8 times the amount of fallacies as Andrew.
But
Just
even
makes it less likely, but they're still going to go
even
through
if
it. Once they go through it, what do you do?
But when you said a marriage was a great institution, right?
It
Did that
was.
eliminate all divorce?
It was very low.
Well, right. So it's just you're only talking about mitigation. You're only talking about
It was actually
mitigation.
lower than the percentages that you're showing me.
I agree.
Way lower.
I agree.
Way lower.
But you're still talking about mitigation.
But we're also talking about white people were least likely to get married under these scenarios too.
Yeah, well, we're still talking about mitigation.
Exactly.
And so,
at
if
that
you
point,
say it's great and it's mitigating, and I say, okay, I want to move towards mitigation, we can never eliminate it. You can't hold that against me.
I can't, and you can't hold it against
I
me for
can't.
telling men to avoid the situation, especially since, and I'll add this on, especially since we can know statistically women are getting married at an older age. That is increasingly high. We can look at 40 years ago, it was 20 years old. We can look at today, it's roughly around 28 and 30.
But there's some nuance there too.
There's a lot of nuance
Well, hang
there.
on.
And
Here's
hold
a
on for a
big
second,
one.
but I was
Okay,
completing the
go
point
ahead,
here. Okay. At that point, you're seeing a lot of women choosing to not marry. You're also seeing a lot of men choosing to not marry those women that are older.
Yeah.
So how do you get those people to have an ecclesiastic marriage
I'll help you.
when you're telling them these people are saying, I'm not marrying that woman.
Yep.
She's a
All right. So we might have to give a questions answered next time, because that really, if you can withstand cross-examination, this actually makes your argument more robust and better and more of a position. Because you got to think about, I think about debates like a war. If we're having a war and I'm able to deflect your attacks, bruh. And I'm not talking about deflect like how this guy, like how Greg has been doing it, because Greg has been salsa dancing around a lot of. Greg has been salsa dancing a lot. Greg has been salsa dancing around Wilson's questions a lot in this debate. I'm not talking about that type of deflecting. I'm talking about like withstand and your attack doesn't work. And on top of that, I show him the defense of my argument. That's what answering questions does when you're being cross-examined. If the answers it adequately and it doesn't leave room for any incoherence or inconsistencies. So Andrew has been, there hasn't been one time in this debate where Andrew didn't answer a question directly. Or if Greg posed any type of metric to me, Andrew would bring it. On the other hand, y'all see the scoreboard.
stepmom, or no, she's a single mom.
Yep, I
She's
understand.
older.
Yep.
She's a pastor.
So now we're transitioning it into another metric of mitigation that Greg is testing for.
prime. How are you getting that marriage rate up?
This is the
with
best.
ecclesiastic
So I
marriage?
think that's a great question. It's one
Other
that,
than saying that they got to be virgins.
and it's
But
one
that's not
that
how
I
it works.
need, and it's one that I do need to answer to. So here's the
Yeah, and this is crazy because I don't even need to know what the answer is. I have a feeling that Andrew, because he's prepared, he was actually waiting for something like this, which is why he's probably looking at his papers that he has. He's been doing this a lot.
the answer to this. The reason that
Yeah,
women are
what I tell y'all. He moved the papers up. What I tell y'all.
getting married older is because they're deferring their childbearing years for college. That's why.
That's obvious. Okay.
I mean, literally, that's
Sure.
the only reason, and one of
we
the
know
prime
this.
reasons that the birth rate is collapsing is because they're having children older because they defer those childbearing years.
Like I
for
said,
later
that's
in
not
life.
fruitful and multiply.
So,
That's just adding.
so we can look at this and we can. Well, it is still multiplying.
Okay,
but
all right,
anyway,
all right, yeah.
The point is when we're talking about, we go back to this whole propaganda thing, right?
You're not going to get a disagreement on this.
Hang on. The
okay?
idea is,
You're not in this
should
agreement
we
on the
have
argument?
propaganda that says, women, you go to school, we'll give you student loans, right? We'll back the entire thing for free, and we promise you a lucrative STEM career, right? When the opposition is actually true. Or do we run campaigns that say, no STEM funding, you got to pay for your own fucking college, okay? Or you can choose the more traditional path.
How
which-
likely is this to happen?
It's actually pretty likely. If you look at the idea of STEM fund or funding for college, right? The idea of student loans and things like this, women are already trying to check out in the worst way because they can't have kids later in life.
But they're not getting married though.
They
They're not
do.
turning that
They do.
in.
They
They're
just
not
do.
turning that
They
in to
do
get married.
college first, and this is, by the way, where the body count comes from. The big body counts are coming because they spend all this time in college getting fucked.
Very
right?
obviously.
And
This is obvious. Yes.
And then
Okay.
afterwards,
All right.
right?
Something
They
he
get their
agrees with.
lucrative career, and then they want to settle down.
They find a
But it seems to me very obvious that if you wanted to do something about this, you would want to create the incentive for women to not go to college and instead use their childbearing years to get married, because that's what we always did.
I've actually created this scenario before, and it's very opposed to where society's going. Society's really not showing that they're showing trends of this. You might have a little spatters here and there, but if you have a woman that says, okay, I can't afford to go to college, she becomes a Walmart clerk. Hold on for a second. She becomes a Walmart clerk and assistant manager. I'm looking at those particular demographics. They're not jumping into marriages. All right, maybe.
Okay. Rebuttal. That's another rebuttal on Greg's part. All right. Ryan says, this is a perfect example of, I think he said Lao Tzu. Lao Tzu. Know yourself and know your opponent, and you need not fear the result of 1,000 battles. Yeah. I think Andrew was likely more prepared than Greg. I think it's pretty clear.
In Tuscaloosa, Alabama, they're still out here ho-hopping. All right, they're still finding a variety.
But here's why. So women are they're getting more college degrees than men because men have a viable option for making income, which is easy.
Correct.
I mean, it's actually harder, but it's easy and for them.
You can survive.
And the idea is, if you're a tradesman, you're gonna make a lot of money. Okay, especially in modernity because there's an incompetency crisis in the United States.
Absolutely.
So if you're good at what you do, you're gonna make a lot of money. That's just it.
Women are less
and
likely
even
to
if
go
you're
in those
bad at it, you'll make a lot of money. But the college thing created a situation we were not aware was going to happen, even though I could easily have predicted it, which is oversaturation. Women only go for a couple things, and they're sociological related mostly. They're not really for STEM fields, and that's who's hiring the big STEM fields. Everything else oversaturated. That's why women end up in government NGOs and government think tanks and psychologists, because the overage has to go somewhere. But that's saturated too. So you're seeing actually a trend begin to emerge of that trending down because of oversaturation. So if that's the case, these women don't want to go work at Walmart as the assistant manager, right? And if you had said propaganda plan, and the propaganda plan is simple enough, the idea here is just don't defer your childbearing years for college. Instead, we'll help you with incentives so that you have children younger and you get married younger. You will almost eliminate this entire problem. And yes, not only is it viable, not only is it viable, but we should be moving towards that. This idea that you should get married rather than just create the conditions for which marriage is great is exactly what we should be doing.
And under those conditions, it would make sense because you're getting women that can multiply, that can
but
be.
It's only the churches that can get this done.
No, not really. But in this situation here, I agree. I agree with that scenario. I proposed that many years ago. However, you're going to be hard pressed for women to actually pick that. Although they're not going to college, they're trending down in college. They're probably not going to complete one of these liberal arts degrees. What you're probably going to see them do, they're still going to Coachella. They're still selling coochie. They're out here being sugar babies. They're going to OnlyFans.
Some of them are oversaturation.
Yeah, exactly. So it'll get oversaturated. Now you kick the can down the road to what the next thing is. I don't see.
Wait a minute. Hold on.
Multiple.
Great, but we should be moving towards that. This idea that you shouldn't get married rather than just create the conditions for which marriage is great is exactly what we should be doing.
And under those conditions, it would make sense because you're getting women that can multiply, that can
but
be.
It's only the churches that can get this done.
No, not really. But in this situation here, I agree. I agree with that scenario. I proposed that many years ago. However, you're going to be hard pressed for women to actually pick that. Although they're not going to college, they're trending down in college.
Why?
They're probably not going to complete one of these liberal arts degrees. What you're probably going to see them do, they're still going to Coachella. They're still selling coochie. They're out here being sugar babies. They're going to OnlyFans.
Some of them are oversaturation.
Yeah, exactly. So it'll get oversaturated. Now you kick the can down the road.
It's a weak argument, but we'll give
I
it
don't
that.
see the women seeing that college is prohibitive to them jumping into traditional marriages. I don't see that.
But that was the same argument which made in the 90s to men, that they would not, that the trades were going by the wayside and they all needed to get a college degree. When in fact, the opposite ended up happening. Now they're all moving towards trades in lieu of the college degree because of oversaturation. Right. There's no reason for us to believe that if it's the case that women have the option and the propaganda behind it, for them to get married at a younger age, right? Defer that with incentives. We can give all sorts of incentives for this.
Would you give for
oh
this?
Man, first of all, you can give tax exemptions, for instance. You could say
these women don't pay taxes even when they make millions.
Yeah, but the thing that's
they don't catch up to them, but they don't pay the taxes.
Well, they do have to pay property tax on the houses they get from their husbands when they divorce them. So
if they get married, then
the thing is what you could do is in Poland did this, and they had a pretty good degree of success, up almost 0.5%, moving and trending towards almost 1%, which is huge in such a short amount of time. They gave tax exemption, and you can pull this up if you want. They gave tax exemption if you had more than X number of children. I think it was 3 for life. Tax exempt for life. Yes. Now the thing is that's huge. Now from a woman's perspective, why would a woman go for that? Because she's tax exempt for life too. And the thing is, it's the same reason they're going to college, which is they want the money. The same reason they're selling their pussy online, because I want the money, is also a thing which you can incentivize them to do the other direction.
You could,
because they want the money.
It sounds nice, but
it's worked. It's worked.
It's worked in Poland.
Yeah. Well, in the places it's been tried, the incentives work.
Is that a comparable nation to the United States, who highly depends on women being taxed?
Well, so did Poland.
It's not the same size.
Well, I mean,
we were a very large country. We're a very large country.
It's all scalable, right?
It could be scalable.
It's all scalable. The thing
it's kind of like when people said Sweden did this, and you're talking about 1 million people versus 100 million people. I understand.
We're going to look at the models where they exist
to
see how they compare.
Yeah,
and it's a better model.
Yes, it's a good model.
Hey, real quick, do you guys think I'm going too fast? I'm at 1.3 right now. It's about at the height of what I can really listen to and like actually obtain. Or what do you guys think? You guys think it's 1.3 speed is too much? Let's see. Ghostwriter. Greg isn't a debater and probably thought this would be an easy win. Ryan says 100%. I think, yeah. I think he was funny, and he has like an optical appeal to him, and there's a level of charisma due to his, like, he's jokey joke, and I think he's funny. A lot of his jokes are funny that he's been kind of like putting in there, even his jabs and his ad hominems. But it's not enough to carry you through. Basically, he hasn't really. He's been squirming when it comes to cross-examination from the Andrew side. See, Coach has been able to ask questions that are tough, and Andrew just takes them head on. However, with Coach, when Andrew asks him questions in the cross-examination, he's doing this, and he's playing rhetorical. He's not actually addressing them with better arguments or substantive arguments. He's been asserting things. He's been using rhetoric, and he's been joking around, and he's been kind of like, I can't really explain. I guess it's just rhetorical. It's just extremely rhetorical. And yeah, it's funny, but it's not effective. Yeah. And a straw. So, all right, we're going to keep going.
It would be
See, look, we're almost done. We're almost done, guys. Almost done.
It's a start.
It would be a
It's
good start.
something.
Do you think people would probably try to manipulate that? You said they have 3 kids from the same dad or from different
You have to be
daddies?
married.
You would have to be married. Okay, so this would be a nice opportunity for us to bring something that Poland has tried to a place where we don't have that same structure. They're somewhat democratic socialists.
No.
Or somewhat
Not at all. They're
capitalist.
very conservative.
They're
Very
conservative,
capitalist.
but yeah, they have that. But they're also
No, they're very.
Now, here's one thing we have to agree. Well, we can give Greg in his defense. He's been conceding where you would think it's reasonable. So he hasn't been concessionless. So this makes him a little bit more reasonable. At least from the optic view. So he's definitely made some concessions, but at the same time, a lot of those concessions doesn't help your position. So for the debate itself, concessions don't help your position. But as far as like your style and how effective you are, and it helps.
Very capitalist.
okay.
Yeah.
So, but typically we're a lot more capitalist than them. Would you
I don't
agree?
know. I don't
We're a
know if
lot
that's
more
the case.
capitalist in
Like,
Poland.
Eastern
All
Europe
right,
has
we're-
become very, very based. Eastern Europe
okay.
has become
all right,
very
but we
based.
can probably say 200, 350 million people versus Poland size.
It's much smaller, yes.
12 million.
But that's what
All right, this would
scalability
be,
is for.
I mean, this would be the size, not even half of California at this particular point, but that you're scaling to.
Yeah, scalability works that way because
It
it's
could.
scalable.
It could.
38 million in Poland.
38 million, quite more than I thought. That
Yeah.
would be the state of California and plus Oregon maybe or something like that.
Well, and California is bigger than a lot of countries.
It is.
That's the
Fifth-
case.
Fifth largest
Yeah.
GDP.
Yeah.
So in this scenario, I'll give you that one. It's a little bit of a reach, but I'll give it
Not
to
just
you.
that. If we look at the Chinese model, the Chinese model really fucked this up. They decided that they were going to do the one-child policy. Remember that?
And they screwed that up.
Well, not only did they screw it up, but they have almost given themselves imminent doom because their birth rate has dropped down so low. Now, what are they doing? They're giving incentives for women to have children. Now,
Exactly.
we do it here, too, to a
We
limited
do that
degree
here.
with tax credits, right? But the tax credits, you're not going to incentivize a woman who can sell her pussy on OnlyFans
Exactly,
to have
for way
a child
much.
to have a
Yeah.
child for $3,000 a year.
And sometimes they even go on EBT and WIC, and they still use the system. So you're still finding ways where people will manipulate the system. And
That's the
we're seeing
whole
people
point
that
of
are
trying to
master
get rid of
manipulation.
that, right?
We would try to get rid of it. It would be a nice try. I'll give you that one. That might be a
No,
ball.
it's possible, and
It's-
more than possible, and it's better than the idea of just continual degeneracy.
Well, I'm not promoting degeneracy. However,
Sex outside of marriage?
well, who's that degenerate to? I mean, that's your
Right,
Bible.
so
I mean,
the-
most of your Christians, your traditional. Hold on for a second. Let
Yeah,
me. Most
okay.
of your traditional Christian women that are getting married to these simps are blindsided, typically by women that were promiscuous.
Sounds
all right?
like
so
sex
that
out of
sounds like
marriage is
normal.
good.
So
Sounds
that-
like sex out of marriage is bad.
it sounds like it's really bad, but
Yeah.
those are your women you're trying to marry, not the virgins that we're going to
You
have.
think
or
that
the
this is
overwhelming-
mitigated by you being a secularist versus a Christian? Give me a break.
I mean, you're not going to
If
mitigate women throwing their pussy around the internet or
Yeah,
finding around the
well,
world. You can
but-
hardly mitigate that. I mean,
you know-
you haven't done anything at this particular point. They're busting it wide open on OnlyFans.
Yeah, we can put
Right,
outlaw
these are the church
OnlyFans.
women.
You can outlaw OnlyFans.
I mean, every one of your scenarios is a big major swing at. They're not happening. All right, it's not happening.
Do you
You're not-
know that the
they're not
people versus
outlawing
Larry,
anything.
the people versus Larry Flint was not long ago when
Mhm.
the normalization of the porn used to be outlawed. Okay, it
But
used to be
people still
outlawed all over the United States, and guess what? The effects that it had on the psychology of men and the effects it had on marriage were negligible. You could still get it to some degree underground,
Right.
but it was tough and it was illegal. Why do you think?
And people still went to the.
Why do you
they
think
went
it
to
is?
that? I don't know if you remember
Yeah.
this if you're old enough. They
Go
still
ahead.
went to that VHS area or the area of the magazine.
was
where
after
they drew
Larry
the
Flint.
All right, but that was a result. That was kind of one
that
of
was
the things that
after
they
they
said.
legalized it. Before
Exactly.
they legalized it, those sections didn't exist.
Exactly. So now it's wide open. It's in the open.
Yeah, so
now,
we need to
where we
eliminate
at?
it. Yes,
We didn't eliminate Playboy and Penthouse.
That's
It
after
still
Larry
exists.
Flint. Larry Flint
It's
was
still-
Penthouse.
I understand that, but it's still here. I mean,
yeah,
you didn't
he
get
won
rid
the
of it.
case.
Correct.
But
So
we
there
can,
you're,
we're
how you going to beat
unwinding.
OnlyFans?
We're unwinding and have been unwinding. That's
Yeah,
what Roe
you're
v.
trying
Wade
to-
was. The
right,
idea
you're
of Roe
trying-
v. Wade was
By
to
the time you
unwind.
beat OnlyFans, the damage is done. I'm going to just let you know.
Yeah, you know what?
Right, the
That's-
damage is pretty
it's
much
really
done. That
funny.
would
It's
take
like,
30 or 40 years.
okay,
to
well,
do
after
that.
a war, the damage is done. It might take 30 or 40 years, but you know what the thing is we don't quit because it might take some time.
I didn't ask you to quit. What I'm asking you is, you're trying to solve the problem today of getting traditional.
Both.
Traditional
Today, tomorrow.
I understand that. Tomorrow will be a better day. But at this point, you're looking at traditional conservative women that have thrown their punanis out. Some
Sure.
of them are single moms.
Well, they're not traditional.
All right.
But yeah.
Again, they're not. But this exists, and unfortunately, the traditional conservative movement, or
And it's full of
these
feminists, I
women,
agree.
yeah, these women come in as feminists,
Yep.
liberals, and they cosplay, trick these men into marriages, say that they're going to marry them, not in the secular, and then they follow you, and then they run right back to the court.
no,
Now,
the
this
opposite.
does happen quite a bit, even in the
Not from us,
Christian
no.
church.
Not from us.
Well, I don't know how many you are. We still haven't determined.
But the thing is funny.
This still happens. So a lot of men get caught off guard because they see her thumping the Bible. Oh, she's one of us. And these women have figured out how to cosplay.
And again, I think this is a good question, right? Notice I've answered all of yours. You haven't answered any of mine. But
Which
the thing
one
is,
did I answer?
yeah, can I ask a couple?
Go ahead.
Okay, great. So the progressive mantra is that sexual liberation, this is what feminism was based around, was sexual liberation.
Greg, you better not dodge. Greg, you better not freaking dodge. I need to go pee. So we're going to take a little, I'm going to just walk to the bathroom. I mean, you guys want to leave, you can, but I need to go pee. Greg, you better not dodge the goddamn question after this. All right, back at it. So he asked if he can answer some questions. So Greg, please don't add any more negative points. Sorry guys, I'm sorry. All right, let's read some of the chats real quick. Let's see, I'm just trying to read real quick. All right. I've watched CGAs for a long time and he's funny. I agree more with Andrew's overall prescription though. CGA is total degenerate. Yeah. I mean, if you just define degenerate as somebody who just promotes sex outside of marriage, just doing your own thing. Yeah. I would say he's not as much as a degenerate as probably Destiny or freaking like Vosh. But yeah, it seems like a cool cat. Seems like somebody you would want to smoke a cigar with. Great analysis. I think CJ's solution is how a man should navigate the modern system with no change. Andrew has a prescription for everyone and how to fix the system. Yeah, I agree. Ghostwriter, CJ's advice, rebuilding after a divorce and getting your life back on track, I agree with. I don't agree with being nihilist and contributing to more degeneracy. Yep, agreed there. Ryan, 100% says, Ryan to Ghost. Tin Dong. And, sorry, man, I didn't mean to. I speak Chinese, but I don't know how your name is pronounced. Maybe it's not Chinese. Andrew doesn't have a prescription for everyone because no woman is going to go for his ludicrous scenarios. CGA was never pro-marriage for men. He said marriage is for families, that's it. Yeah, but I think, I think you're not understanding the position. You're kind of strawmanning Andrew there. Andrew never said that he has a prescription for everyone. So try not to cope on that one. It's not ludicrous. I mean, if you look at the debate, 10, what is ludicrous about the data he's brought up as well as the arguments? I mean, hopefully you can do a better job at rebutting are bringing better arguments than Greg so far, because no argument that Greg has brought has actually penetrated Andrew's defense at all. He's basically brushed all of his attacks at it. He's basically brushed off all of Greg's attacks. Do you have a better argument? Because I see you're probably more on the you're probably more on the CGA side. I'm more on the Andrew side, so I get it. But do you have a better argument, or can you give me an argument? I'm not saying you failed that. I'm just saying, can you give me one?
The progressive mantra is that sexual liberation, this is what feminism was based around, was sexual liberation.
Okay, so let's see the question.
But the
Which
thing
one
is,
did I? And these women have figured out how to cosplay.
and again, I think this is a good question, right? And notice I've answered all of yours. You haven't answered any of mine. But the
Which
thing
one
is,
did I answer?
Yeah, can I ask a couple?
Go ahead.
Okay, great. So the progressive mantra is that sexual liberation, this is what feminism was based around, was sexual liberation. That was the big one.
Correct.
That their bodies were being controlled, not just from abortion, but from who they chose to have sex with because they were attracted to them, this and that. Marriage was a complete trap for women. It was self-destructive to them, this and that. What is the distinction in your message in that one to men?
What's my message?
Well, it seems to me that your message is that marriage is simply too dangerous and that if you want to sleep with women outside of it, it's perfectly fine. And it's actually liberating for you because you're moving away from the trappings of marriage itself.
And it would be safer.
Hang on.
Yeah.
That seemed like the same exact message that we got in the 70s from feminists.
If you frame it that way, it would be. But
So you're a
it's just
feminist?
Hold on for a second. It would be two different outcomes. You're protecting wealth, access to children. You're actually being able to control who has your children.
That's
who
what they
doesn't.
wanted.
Exactly. Well, no, they want to be able to kill their children and abort them.
They wanted
all right?
to be able
So
to determine
we're
what happened with
we're
their
trying to
children.
figure out where we have the control legally. They're having the control over their body. These are two different.
But it's
these are two
but
different
what's,
outcomes.
So what's the
legal
delineating
outcome is what
factor
the men are trying to figure
from
out.
a 1970s feminist to your
All right, great. Good to hear Greg answer a damn question this time. I'm relieved, actually. CJ never dodged anything because he never said he had the solution for marriage. Andrew put those words in his own mouth. He always told men to avoid marriage. So I think a part of what you're saying is true. Basically, Greg has actually given some mitigating reasons. He's even mentioned it in his book, basically how to avoid things financially. I'm not sure if you actually follow Greg Adams, because Greg does give some prescriptions in his books. I haven't read them, but I know some of them are prefaced in that way. How to Live a Free Agent Lifestyle, but also other books about how you can kind of navigate marriage and divorce court if you want to get married. So I've been on some of his streams and he does do that. I think you're missing the point, Tin. The debate is marriage worth it? And specifically around mitigation. And I don't think Andrew put any words in anyone's mouth. Like, can you give me an example? Because when you say he always told men to do X and Y, we're talking about the debate itself, where he's taking the negative position. And he hasn't been able to give any good argument from the negative. That's the topic of the debate. So I want you to be real technical with your next response, if you don't mind.
You're messaging right now. What is the difference?
They're trying to control their bodies.
So are you.
I'm trying to control legally, financially. These are two different things. These
Those are
two
your
different
body.
outcomes.
You're controlling your
no,
bodies.
No, don't just make it a body.
It's the
now.
same thing.
It's financial. These aren't my
That's
body.
the same
All right,
arguments they made. It's
listen, no,
financial.
you're trying to make it the same. I
It
know
is
you're trying
the
to
same.
No, you're trying to cram that in. Oh, finances is your body. I'm trying to control the legal outcomes.
So were
related
they.
to that. Related to finances. Not related to me being liberated and sleep with who I want to. The first goal was to control what happens to me financially. It was never the goal for men to avoid marriage, to sleep around. That's the feminist goal. Those are two different things.
They make the
You're
same
trying to make
claim.
it-
They make the same claim. Their
There
claim
never
is
was financially.
we're
It was to
not
sleep
telling women
around.
that they need to go sleep
Those are
around.
two different
We're not
things.
telling women they need to go sleep around. We're just telling them they can if they want to. Isn't that the same as your message?
If they want to, some men don't sleep around.
Oh,
They don't
yeah.
sleep around.
See, it's not looking good for Greg. It's not looking good for Greg. Andrew's making the argument. Well, it's not an argument because it was a question. Well, it became an argument because after the question, he started to solidify it. Hey, look, man, this is feminist stuff. You're basically a feminist. They make you guys sound the same. Let's see. If we do what CGA does, society fails. Andrew is trying to save women and society. CGA gives you prescriptions to navigate modernity while letting society fail. I follow both a lot. Yeah, and it's pretty clear to see, Ten. I mean, if you just want to use women as Kleenexes or a human-sized hand, lotioned-up hand, then sure, everything will work for you in CGA land while you just watch the world burn, like Joker from Batman Begins or Returns or something. The Dark Knight. Like, okay. I understand the MGTOW. Well, even the MGTOW position is better than this. But
It's just
not
feminism
the
for
same
men,
thing.
dude.
No, that's what you want to call
There's
it.
no
And that's-
prescriptions. It's just feminism for men.
How's that not a prescription? I get to control who I'm with. I
Said the
get to
feminist.
control where the law is,
Said the
and I, hold on for a
feminist.
second, and I get to control where my finances are, not the state.
Said the feminist.
No,
The
no,
same
no,
things
that's
you were
not.
fighting
No, no, no,
for.
that's not. It's not the
We
women's
don't have a bank
finances.
account. We can't decide what to vote.
That's-
We can't
that's
decide
a
what to do with our
second- that's a
children. Women's
secondary-
property. It's
that's
the
a
same
secondary.
shit.
That's a secondary issue.
Oh,
That is
man.
a secondary issue.
the same
You try to
issue.
compare it. You try to compare it, and then say finances is body. I mean, come on.
That's
man.
what
I mean,
they were fighting. They were fighting
you're
for the
really
same
trying to
thing.
cram this.
They were like,
in
we
to
want
fit your
credit cards.
narrative.
We want to be able to control our
That's
bank
nice.
accounts.
That's
We want to be
very
able to
much a
control our
secondary,
finance.
tertiary issue. We're talking about what you framed
It's
it
the
as.
primary issue.
The primary issue for
For
me
you.
is finances. It's not to sleep around. All right,
Yeah.
that would be two different things.
But
I'm
if
not
it's-
maintaining my independence and staying single
But if
so
it's
I
the
can sleep
case-
around. That's not the primary
Yeah,
issue.
I understand,
It is
but-
for
but if
finances. So
it's-
those are two different
No,
arguments.
they're not.
You want to make it the same for
Let-
you? Go ahead,
Let me give the explanation.
please.
If every single argument you make, even if you say these ones over here are tangential, but I agree with them, is the same exact argument of the 1970s bra-burning feminist, whether or not your
That's what you
hang on.
believe.
Whether or not it's the primary goal,
Make it
hang
work
on,
for
hang
you.
on, man.
Make it work for you.
Even if it's the case, it's not the primary goal; it's a secondary goal. They're still the same
You
goals.
framed
Hang
it
on,
as the
man.
number
Let
one
me
goal.
at least make the argument
Please
before you
do.
respond.
Reach on in there, man.
So the
Well,
thing
let's see
is,
if he makes the
is
argument.
if you say, "Hey, man,
Dig deep.
this is about financing." It's like, okay, well, you know, the 1970s feminists, we can't have credit cards, we can't control our bank accounts, we can't control our own financial independence from men. That's what they're fighting for. You want the same thing: independence from women to control your own finances.
You were
Hang
talking
on,
about
hang on.
promiscuity.
Almost done with the argument, then you can rebut it. Next thing is, when you're talking about promiscuity, sure, sleep with whoever you want, right? It's under your purview because you can do whatever you want with your body. Same exact argument that they're making. They're not the property of men, right? They should have complete sexual liberation, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. All of these are the same degenerate structured systems which led us to where we are currently right this second, except you're just providing them for men instead of women. It's like, can't we at least at some level look at this and say, look, just because these crazy women are doing these insane things, we can actually, as men, do something about this prescriptively without adding the degeneracy. Can't we do that?
Okay, let's go back.
Okay.
There's a such thing as, you might take a medication to solve one issue and you get side effects. You're telling me the side effects equals what the men wanted as to solve the problem to heal. That's the reason they took the medication. Now you're telling me about all these side effects. The side effect of feminism being able to control their body is to also have finances, blah, blah, blah. Same thing with the men. The men didn't intentionally go in there to say, this is for our bodies. We went in there to say this is to control our finances. Then as a result to that, there could be some other things that happen as a result.
Yeah, but if the results are the same as feminism, who
It's not the
cares?
same.
What's
It
the
is not
difference in
going to be the
results?
outcome because at that particular point, the man has controlled his finances. He's outside of the state system.
That's what
So
the
what you-
feminists argued for themselves.
That's a completely different reason. You can have
Who
the same
cares if it's-
outcome.
it's the
You can-
same fucking
listen,
outcome.
You can have the same outcome and it could be for different reasons. All right, you're saying the outcome pretty much says it's a reason. That's not true. You can have two different reasons and
Great.
have similar outcomes.
So we have the same outcomes for 1970s
okay,
progressive
but that's not the
feminists
intent.
for men
So
because you intended it to be different.
But you wanted to
Great.
compare. You just simply wanted to compare it as the same.
It is
It's
the
not.
same.
It's apples and oranges.
It's
apples and
it's
oranges.
apples and oranges because
To
you didn't mean it that way. I didn't mean it that
No,
way,
you
even though
said-
that's the same result.
You framed it that way to
Because
fit your
it's the
narrative.
truth.
That's your narrative.
It's not my
That's
narrative.
Your narrative.
You just
can-
agreed
listen,
that what I
you
said is
look-
true.
I didn't agree with anything.
Okay,
did.
basically, he made an argument. Greg made an argument around framing, but Andrew disagrees, and that was basically his ultimate defense about it. It's just you're framing it that way.
You just said that's
I
the same,
said,
it's the same
this is
comparable
the outcome. This
institution.
is the outcome.
But the problem is because we're humans, we're gonna. All right, I'll just shut up because I'm not trying to be too biased.
If I choose to do something for different outcomes, it's not the same.
just wild.
Just because certain things line up.
It's just
the way you
feminism.
want. And you're cherry picking, by the way, and you're very good at it. You're cherry picking
Oh,
the good
okay, cherry
things,
picking.
the bad things, and then you want to reframe traditionalism and call it the traditional church. Well, the traditional
All
church.
right, if that's true, let me look it up. Let's look up cherry picking, because if that's a fallacy, let me just find it real quick. Is cherry picking? Let me see. Is cherry picking a fallacy? Yes, cherry picking is absolutely a fallacy. Example, divorces are dropping. That proves marriage is stronger than ever. You're cherry picking. You're only looking at older examples. Younger generations are marrying less, and if you give multiple examples, in your claim, is it still cherry picking? Okay, it's not. Even if you give multiple examples, it can still cherry picking if all your examples are hand selected to fit your narrative. Omit strong counterexamples. No strong counterexamples were omitted. You pretend your chosen examples represent the whole field when they don't. I don't think that is cherry picking. You're showing that your claim holds across varied cases. Andrew did that. He did it for finances, sexual liberation, legal. That's not cherry picking. Because it's basically the majority of feminist theory is culture, legal, autonomy, sexuality. It is a similar, I mean, to me, I could be biased, but to me, it doesn't seem like Andrew's cherry picking. What do you guys think? If it is, you guys make a strong case, I'll add a point to Andrew for a fallacy. But it doesn't seem that way, though. I think Andrew's better divorce for men that have gone through ringer. Andrew's advice is better for young men, and in my opinion. Okay, let's see. CJ never came from a position from saving society. The whole point was if marriage was worth it for men. Yeah, Tin, I don't think you're answering the questions, but you know, niggas never really answer questions sometimes in the chat. Okay, let me see the argument, Tin. I think I see it. His argument for men is to boss up and be the best. Okay, well, all right, man. I don't think you're answering. I don't think you're understanding my question, but anyways, continuing on. I think, okay, what advice is Andrew giving? Get married to low body count women and make sure they are ecclesiastic structure, not to mention a prenup, so that you can mitigate divorce. Well, yeah, that's basically his argument, Tim. I don't agree with his junior college pump and dump degenerate advice. So his argument for men, okay, so 10, he wants to restructure the whole system to promote family and marriage, but back to times when marriage was strong. Are you going to take away women's smartphones? Okay. 10, with the right values, you don't have to. Yeah, I think 10, you might be pretty black-pilled, man. I get it. There's a lot of freaking degenerate women out there, but doesn't mean we need to become like them. But I think the problem with CJ's advice is it basically gives men an excuse to put the ring on from Lord of the Rings. And it's very tempting to do so, but you just end up becoming like Mordor and stuff. I think that I'm using the analogy correct. Anyway, almost finished here.
Church also had the Ku Klux Klan in the 1950s.
No, that was
Is that what you want to
non-traditional.
go? Okay,
That's
okay, call it the traditional church. Well, the traditional church also had the Ku Klux Klan in the 1950s.
No, that was the
Is that what you want to go?
non-traditional.
Okay,
That's for
okay.
Protestant churches.
Okay, well, it's the church. And
No,
at that
it's not the
particular
church.
point, if you want to go
No,
ahead
it's
and cherry pick what's good and what's
by the way,
bad,
they were
that's
Democrats.
a great snapshot.
Those were Democrats.
Exactly, and of course, they were Democrats.
And
certainly
not
weren't
Republicans.
Okay, well, now where are we at? There's going to be Democrats in your church? No Democrats.
Not
Okay,
usually.
so at
There are
this
some, of
particular-
course.
I don't see how that's an
So
argument.
there are going to be people that have
Yeah,
the
but what
same
does the
ideology.
KKK have to do with anything?
You're snapshotting traditional world that literally you can just pinpoint 10 years.
Yeah.
And if I go back 10 years before, it was non-existent. You're
So
reaching,
what?
you're creating a pie in the sky. And then if I fast forward 15 years
Yeah.
later, it don't exist. Now you're trying to bring it back out
How
of
do
the
you
dead
know?
like you're Billy
What-
Graham. I know
This is
that
true.
doesn't exist.
What doesn't
It is
exist?
not the normal traditional church. You're screenshotting things. You're picking out a period of history to say we need to take it back from here. That period
No, I'm
was
doing the
only a
opposite.
small percentage of
Trying to
the,
give a holistic view, not just of
you're
the
giving
entire,
a religious view,
not
not a
just the-
holistic view.
well,
It's very
look,
religious.
most of history is full of religion. I'm
and
sorry
a
to
whole
be
bunch of
very-
religious people killing people. But go ahead.
That
Go
accounts-
ahead.
that accounts
Keep
for-
it going.
that accounts
All right,
to-
a lot of people killing
Yeah, so
each
that
other, a lot
accounts
of
to
divorce, and a lot of fornication. Go
About 4
ahead.
to 6% of all wars were religiously based.
How much?
4 to 6%. You can look it up.
All right, I don't care what. That doesn't matter. They kill each other at massive rates. All right, listen. Religion is not the
4 to
answer.
6%.
You guys, you're
Yeah, no,
trying to tell
degeneracy
me-
and feminism for men.
I
is
didn't
the
say it
answer.
was. You didn't have to live degeneracy if you're non-religious. That's your world.
yeah, I
Again,
know.
you always make it fit what you want.
Because
Cherry
it does
pick.
fit. It is the
doesn't
truth.
fit.
That's what you guys advocate
You're
for.
only good if you're religious. That's ridiculous. All right, you only make good decisions because you're religious.
I think-
That's
seems-
ridiculous. That's
it's-
what you hope,
did
and
I-
that's not the case because a lot of people that are in your
Why do you say
hold on for a
only?
second.
Like, why do you say
Hold on,
only?
hold on.
When I,
A
when
lot
I
of
talk
we
about
just-
outcomes being
you
better,
just admitted you just admitted
better.
that there are women that are feminists in your church. Of
course.
Okay, so there's your solution there. You're telling me
So
it's
what?
always better.
It
And
is
it's
always
a
better.
Snapshot. What you're doing is selling men a fantasy of them.
And you're selling them feminism.
I'm not. Well, we can agree to disagree on that.
Well,
But you're
no,
selling them
agree
a
to disagree,
fantasy.
just selling them
And
feminism.
you're selling them a fantasy. All right,
A fantasy
that's
that I
not
have
gonna
data
exist.
to
Matter of fact,
support.
most people will be dead by the time you get even 1 inch closer to whatever you're proposing.
Well,
most
under
men will be dead as a
Under
doorknob.
your
This is
But under
insertion.
your,
you have assured that black men will be dead. You said so yourself. There's no fixing it. They will be. That's your prescription.
well, that's the prescription that you heard. What I told black men is to leave that community. The community is not to
Are
be
they
saved.
doomed or not, like you said?
The black men leave the community, they thrive.
Yeah, I know. Are
Yes.
black men doomed, like you said
The
earlier?
black
or
men
not?
that leave the community, they thrive.
Yeah, I know.
They
But
do
are,
very well.
are black men doomed, like you said earlier? Or
Under
not?
the matriarchy of the black community, yes.
Okay.
Under the scenario that I'm proposing for black men, absolutely not. They thrive.
But that's in the future. What
But
about
that's
right now?
So that's,
What about
no,
right this second?
they're thriving right now under your degeneracy model. All right, they're
No,
thriving
no,
right now
none of
under
them.
degeneracy.
Who?
Oh, yes,
Who?
You're looking at one right
You're-
now.
you're- what-
You're looking at
so wait a
one.
second.
So that's who.
So let me get
You're
this
looking
right.
at the notorious one right now.
You're
That's
fine.
who.
So-
You want an example?
so men-
Give me your numbers.
Yeah, so men
You
are-
didn't give me your numbers.
men
The
are-
whole damn stream. But you're
Of what?
telling me
I gave you
who.
tons.
No, give me your numbers of your ecclesiastic marriage where your pastor on a little house on the prairie is going to prevent
Yeah,
them
we
from
would have to
getting
move.
Give me them numbers.
Again.
Okay, you're asking me for
How
mine.
many
I
times
gave
do
you
I have
one.
to explain this?
Come on, man.
So again, when you're talking about just because I don't have polling data for the United States specifically, we can definitely look at other nations where there's ecclesiastical marriages and the divorce rates. That's one. You can do it right now.
No,
The second is this.
You keep
Even
changing
if
that.
I
That's moving
grant,
the goalpost.
even if I grant that just because polling data for that specific thing doesn't exist right this second, the polling data for people who are engaged in state marriage is still lower. That makes my
that's
argument
great.
much more compelling
That's
than
great.
yours.
That's all fine and dandy when you're comparing 125 people to millions of people.
No, these
All
are
right,
millions
what
of
number?
people
What
in
number?
the state.
What's the number
Of
people
what?
that participate?
Of what? Which thing?
I keep asking you this. You never give me. The
I've
number.
already
I
told you 50 times there's no polling data.
Exactly. You don't have a number.
But I do have
It's
numbers
a pie in the
of
sky. It's a
people-
fantasy.
Dude.
You've been selling people a
Do
fantasy.
you realize that
I love it though. You know,
makes,
listen.
you make my point stronger, not worse.
A fantasy?
If it's the case that people are engaged in state marriage right this second and are part of traditional churches and their divorce rate is lower, it
That's
has
fine.
to logically follow that if they were not engaged in state marriage, the divorce rate would be even lower.
You're talking about getting hit over the head 30% to 50%. Okay, that's great.
It's
I'll
huge.
Give you that.
That's huge.
I'll give you that. That's the difference between 150,000 people. Yet you're
Okay.
telling me you have a better solution
No,
to
it's more than
mitigate that. Hold on,
150,000.
You're giving me a mitigating better than that 30%.
That's way
That's
more
what
than
you're saying.
150,000, dude.
Where's that solution for the better than the 30%? I've been asking for it. You can't tell me how many people that you got under these
Yeah, but
notorious
there's no
contracts that don't
I can
have a stake.
logically demonstrate it for you. There's no
I
polling
need you to
data
get
for
that
it. So
number.
what?
Get that number. That would be a great
When I
so
asked
you can
you-
tell the audience. Hold
yeah,
on for a second.
I'll
You
tell
can
them.
tell the audience
Okay.
how many people that you're going to prevent from busting out this ecclesiastic contract with your little house on the
It's not a
prairie,
contract.
whatever it is that you're doing. If you could tell your men how many people you have doing it and you prevented them from getting divorced and losing their kids under custody, please tell us.
Yeah, so
Otherwise, it's a fantasy.
oh, let's respond again. Do you have the polling data for how many of the black men you personally helped?
Absolutely.
Okay, let's see it.
Hundreds of thousands
Let's
right now.
see it.
Hundreds
Let's see
of
the polling
thousands.
data.
Hey, everybody in the chat.
Where's the polling
Press
data?
one. We're gonna do it right now live.
That's
We're gonna do it live.
scientific
Everybody
poll-
press one.
That's
If
polling
you're
data?
a Coach Greg Adams.
Yeah, that's not polling data. I think the reason why it's not polling data is because anybody who's basically, I mean, you're basically saying, come on, red team or blue team, come on, blue team. Let's give them the polling data right here. Nigga, that's not polling data, bro. That's it's just an appeal to the majority now. This, wait a minute. Wait a minute. That's a literal fallacy. Damn, coach. Damn, coach. That's a literal fallacy. Again, appealing to authority? Or I'm sorry, appealing to the majority. That's appealing to the majority. Bro. If they start doing the ones and all that, that's appealing to
That's
the
polling
majority.
data.
If you follow me for the last
You don't
8
have
years,
hundreds of thousands of
press
people in your
one.
chat, dude. Give me a break.
Press one if you can see it. Look. You see that?
Yeah. Where's
Oh,
your
no, you don't want to
polling
look.
data?
You don't want to look. Look at this.
Where's the polling data?
Coach gang, represent.
Do you have
You see it
scientific
right here?
polling data?
That's more than your ecclesiastic contracts.
Oh,
I can
great.
guarantee you that.
Okay, everyone in the Crucible chat who Andrew Wilson has helped, put one in the chat. That's scientific polling data,
Go
says
ahead,
Coach
go ahead.
whoever.
I know
it
you
is.
don't want to hear it. I thought you was gonna let it happen. Now all of a sudden you don't like the numbers. Come on, Andrew, man.
That's not
I thought we
polling
were better-
data.
I thought we were better
That's
than
not
this.
polling data, doofus.
Okay,
What are you
cool.
talking about?
You gonna call
That's
me
not
a doofus?
polling
Hey,
data.
were you gonna call me a doofus?
Yes, that's doofus shit.
Yo, man, that's crazy because I asked you for a number and I'm the doofus. You can't even give me a number.
I gave
under
you
your
a heart,
480. Wait,
dude.
where's your army at?
I mean, we'll give, let me see let's see. Let's read some of these messages. Okay, so are you saying that society we have now is now successful? Tin, do you really think we're saying that? Tin, do you really think that we think society is successful? Because that sounds like a really dumb question. I'm saying it's unsuccessful because we are not following the principles Andrew is promoting. P laughs. Tin, what principles are Andrew promoting? Incentivize marriage by having governments fund families. That's one of them. He promotes virtue, not promiscuity, and other biblical principles. The irony is Andrew has been divorced and from a black woman. Are you sure he's been divorced from a black woman? P, he knows nothing and is anti. All right, guys, we're almost finished here. We're gonna
What's
see
the
what
name
we
of your
got.
group? What's the name of your group?
The Crucible chat.
The Crucible Army. Go ahead and pull them up and tell
tell
them
them
how
real
many of
quick.
them are under your
Hang on.
ecclesiastic
And
contract.
let's make sure we got this straight. How many people are in his live chat right now?
He's got 2,060.
And see how many people are in mine.
Let's go. Pull it up. They should beat me in your ecclesiastic contract. They should floor us in the ecclesiastic contract.
Oh,
4,300.
That's like not even double.
Just one.
All right, we're both doing well.
Just one, please.
All right,
Just one, please.
We're-
and now that means I win.
where they at?
That's
Where they
scientific
at?
polling
Oh, there's
data.
crickets over there. Okay.
Just once.
There
Just
they
one.
go.
All I got to do is
There's the
once, and that's
Crucible over
scientific
there.
data.
There's a couple of twos in there. I want the ecclesiastic contract marriages.
Oh, no.
That's what
You
we're
know,
asking
you
for.
said, who have I helped?
Oh, wait a minute.
That's different.
No, you ask who, for me,
Yeah.
who's followed my prescription.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's not
who has the
polling
ecclesi-
data, dude.
I asked you for the ecclesiastic
God.
contracts, Andrew. This is very simple.
What part of
This
we
is
don't
very-
have the polling data, but I
Because
can
you don't have the
logically
numbers.
demonstrate it? Do you
You
not
don't have the
understand?
numbers. You're selling a fantasy.
We do have the numbers.
You're selling a
Oh my
fantasy.
God, dude, this is
You're
you're
selling
so
a
low
fantasy to
tier.
men. And I think what you need to do is
talking to a fucking wall.
and I hope that all those cancer sticks that you've been smoking will help your ass live long enough to see how far you led men astray. I would love that for you to survive, and I would bless you by the name of God in the Jesus Christ and Latter-day Saints that you survived all the goddamn smokes
You
you've
don't
been
follow
out
the
here.
Jesus Christ of Latter-day
All them
Saints.
smokes you have, so you can come out here
Andrew didn't get the joke. That was a pretty good one.
and live and see how many
Jesus
men you led
Christ of
astray.
Latter-day Saints. You follow Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints?
Somebody does.
You
More
don't.
people than that.
Give me a
More
break.
people than the Crucible.
The
More
LDS
people that you.
You are not in the LDS church, dude.
More people. More people than you have under your ecclesiastic contract. I can guarantee you that. All right.
All you have to do is agree to one proposition. Is it the case that you personally think
Not
that
that.
if there is no state contract, you're not win a
Easily.
state contract, your chances of getting divorced are going to decrease? Is that true or false?
If that's true, even if you don't get married, correct. Your chances of getting divorced goes to 0. And that's the same thing I said. Don't get married, you don't get divorced. The number one cause of divorce is marriage.
Not
Boy,
marriage,
it sounds like
a state
it sounds
contract.
Like, no, the number one cause of divorce is marriage. Hey, Andrew, let's just say this, man. Listen.
I thought they could divorce you even if you weren't married to him 5 minutes ago.
No, you went through a ceremony. You went through a religious ceremony. So at that point, they can. But if I never went through a ceremony, they can.
They can sue you for anything by your logic, whether you
No,
went
no,
through
no,
it or
no,
not.
don't move the goalpost. I said you went through a ceremony. I didn't. All right, those are two different things, sir.
Which part of? I don't really. Again, I don't understand. If it's the case that you
He's
say,
scrambling and scraping for shit right
yeah,
now.
if it's the case that you say
He's
if
scrambling
you're
and scraping for shit right now.
If
Look
you're
at
married
him.
by the state,
Look at him scrambling and
yeah, if you're
scraping.
married by the state, if you're married by the state, your chances of marriage or divorce
But if you don't
increase.
get married, your chances of divorce is 0.
Yeah. Okay. Wait a second. I'm sorry.
Your chances of if you don't
Except
get
unless
married,
you're
your
cohabitating,
chances
right?
of divorce is
Unless you're
0.
cohabitating.
Depends on where you live.
Yeah. So then it's not
That's not
zero.
wrong. Not
So
in
you just
California.
lied. It's not
Not in
zero.
California.
So then it's not zero.
What about if you don't cohabitate?
Yeah. Again. So
Again.
now you're moving the goalposts.
No, most of the time, if you read my book, and I bet you can't read. Did you write a book? I'm pretty sure you didn't. I wrote a book.
My
that
wife wrote a
basically
book,
gave-
and I take all her money though.
Good. Well, that tells me what type of man you are. Holy mackerel, you're pimping your wife out now. What's
To
next?
write- to write
what's
books
next?
that I
What's
profit
next? If
from?
those, how many books that she sold? Now let me get
I'm
back to
pimping-
this.
I'm
All right,
pimping her
hold on
out
for a
'cause she
second.
wrote a
Hold on for a
book.
second.
What?
My prescription for men
Is-
is
my
no. Hold on for a
prescription
second. No,
is
no, no,
my
no.
wife out to write a book.
Yeah. Well, I guess YouTube's going well if you're living off your wife's books. All right. What's her name so we can give her some shine and sell some books?
Oh, her name is Rachel Wilson, the author of Occult Feminism. I guarantee it sold more copies than yours, sir.
All right. We can look it up.
Let's
It's
go.
over that now. We can
All right,
look it
now
up.
it's just
go right now.
Watch this.
Now it's just mudslinging. It's pretty much done with. But we're gonna wrap it. We're gonna.
All right. Go ahead.
I want to look it up right now. Now I just want to
Now
know.
at this point, what have you done? You're living off the backs of your wife? Oh my goodness.
Yes.
Is this traditional marriage?
Yes, absolutely.
Boy, oh boy, men have fallen. I'm gonna tell you that.
Absolutely.
Men have fallen. It's a disgrace. All right,
Man.
You're living off of what? Is this traditional marriage, by the way?
Yes.
Your wife is in the traditional marriage, and you're living off her finances. Goddamn. All right, boy. The crucible is falling apart at this particular point, bursting open at the seams.
Yes, you got
Gentlemen,
me.
What's your book called?
free agent lifestyle.
You got me, man.
Yeah, I did got you.
I take all. It's true. I take all of her money. It's true.
Well, that's what you said.
I mean, I do.
You said that.
I do.
I mean, I'm not saying something you
all
didn't
of
say.
it. And I spend on guns.
Hey,
Every
traditional
dime.
marriage sounds great, guys. Traditional
How
marriage
does
sounds
that
great.
sound bad? Who would be upset by that? I take all of my wife's money and spend it on guns. He says traditional marriage sounds great.
That's
guys.
traditional marriage. That falls under traditional marriage.
Sure.
Oh boy.
What's untraditional
All right,
about it?
That's a great traditional marriage.
It
model.
sounds like great
All right.
traditional marriage to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, they've strayed off topic now.
I can't find the numbers, honestly.
Oh,
Well,
that's too bad.
This all happens. Shit happens. But you know, it's a bestseller. Trust me. You should read it.
So it's hers. They just sold
But
more.
what have you
They
done?
just sold
But
more.
what have you done?
I take her money.
0.
Yeah.
Exactly. Boy, I mean, you hear this?
Yeah.
This is the traditional patriarchy masculinity here, in live and in living color. But you can follow him. You can follow me.
I mean, your book is ranked higher on the charts and it has more ratings.
Oops.
Can't find the sales numbers on either.
The sales numbers are what matters.
Oh. Oh.
Let's see the numbers.
Oh.
Numbers.
Uh-oh.
Numbers.
Uh-oh.
Numbers.
Oops.
Numbers.
I'm higher ranked. More people have.
let's see
Ooh,
the numbers.
ooh. Come on, man. I don't know. I don't keep the data. I don't know what
I don't
happened.
know how many books you've sold.
Millions.
So millions of books.
You Stride, you're not giving points when he answers questions or when Wilson does. Not answer a question. I mean, bring it to the point. I'll add it to the tally. I mean, I don't care. It can go either way. Literally don't care. So you're not giving so when someone answers a question, I don't give points to anyone. You Stride. So we're gonna disregard the first point of your question, but the second one, could you give me a timestamp when Andrew didn't answer a question? Could you show me that? Andrew keeps saying CJ is promoting common law marriage. He never even said that. I don't see that. Where did you get that from, 10? I watched this whole debate. I think the analysis is just as entertaining. I appreciate it, Ghost Rider. 10, they cleared it up earlier. I don't think you had been here the whole time. I don't think 10's really paying attention to much anything. I'm not even sure you speak English because your grammar is so bad, bro.
Give me a fucking break with this shit.
How many books you sold?
You guys
Zero.
sold millions
You
of
sold
books.
zero
You're
goddamn
just
books.
lying and coping, dude.
You listen. I'm higher ranked. I'm higher ranked.
Yeah, you sold
More people-
millions of
Hey, but
books.
Look at the numbers. The numbers don't lie, Mr. Numbers guy. I got
Okay,
higher
where's the
ranked.
numbers?
Higher ranked. More people.
I wanna
have,
know how many you
look at
sold.
More people have rated the book.
Yeah, and
Free
get-
agent
you
lifestyle
can-
for life.
And guess what? You can definitely brigade
For
your own
life.
Amazon shit.
You challenge
Show
me.
me
You're
the
the one
numbers.
challenged me,
Where's
sir.
the numbers?
You sold zero goddamn
Numbers
books.
are.
Man, what? You saw the numbers.
No,
you
I
pulled the
didn't.
numbers.
I asked you for the sales numbers. How
You
many you
pulled the
sold?
numbers. Free agent lifestyle for life. Everybody go out by the free agent lifestyle.
Yeah, free
Hold
agent
on.
never he doesn't
No,
know how
no,
many
no.
you sold.
I'm higher ranked, man.
So
You
what?
see it. I got more people. Look,
That doesn't
hey,
mean
Sean,
shit.
Sean Michael, hey, you see that? I'm higher ranked.
I'd imagine with the ranking algorithm, sales does play a factor.
Come on, man. We already know that. But it is what it is.
What are the
I don't
numbers?
know my numbers. My probably
I
better
know.
than hers, but I know it's better than yours.
That's true.
Right?
I've never
You
written a
got
book.
zero.
I just take the
I mean, you
I just take the author's
You come
money.
up with obvious solutions to scenarios that
And you have
anybody
none.
can
You just
anybody
want
can
them
come
to
up with. I don't have a solution. Free agent lifestyle solution.
That's not a solution to
It's
anything.
not. It sure
It's
is.
just a
It's a
generosity.
solution that you don't like.
It's just go
It's
fuck
just a-
chicks.
No, that's what you think. All right, it's a solution that you didn't.
How's it
read
gonna
the
help?
book.
How's it gonna
How
help with
did you do it?
abortion? How's it gonna help with anything?
Well, that's what de-evolution is for. Read my book,
De-evolution?
de-evolution. Go ahead and pull that up. All right.
How does
Second book,
de-evolution help?
de-evolution. Go ahead and look.
How?
How about you read the book and then come back?
Just
You
tell
didn't
me.
do your research.
How does de-evolution
I
help with
figured you
abortion?
were a better debater than this.
Can you
and
answer
be
the
more prepared.
question?
Now, be more prepared next time because I don't have time.
You
for
can't
this,
answer
man.
any
Listen,
questions.
But I'm going to sell some books.
Just no
Free Agent
questions
Lifestyle
answered.
and de-evolution. The link is in the description box below. All right. I did my work. I don't have to explain it. I wrote a book. Your job is to do the work. All right. And that's what we teach men to do. It's not about degeneracy. We teach men to do the work and not come up with pie in the sky
be
fantasies
feminist?
that don't work.
be
All right.
feminist?
Captain
How do
Obvious.
you know it doesn't work?
Your solutions are very obvious. Control propaganda. All right. Jesus Christ, man. Look, anybody can
Here's
come
your
up with that.
solution.
Wait. It doesn't work. He just said it doesn't work, but then he's saying, wait, it's completely obvious some of the solutions you're giving. That statement is contradictory. If Andrew's solutions don't work, then how are some of the solutions he gives completely obvious? I think that's interesting. That doesn't make sense to me. If his solutions don't work and some of the solutions you agree with and you say you kind of like dismiss it being obvious, then that would mean you actually think they can work. So it's a bit contradicting. Let's see what's in the chat. He promotes avoiding a marriage. The who argument is marriage worth it. He never promoted marriage or even common law marriage. And man, I think 10 you're crashing out, man. You gotta take a breather, man. You gotta step away from the computer. No, if it's worth for society, Andrew argues how to make it worth it for men. I think 10, you might be too black-pilled, man. You gotta pray on it, man. You gotta ask God. Ask yourself. You gotta have a conversation with God and ask Him. I mean, you'd seem to me like you have the desire for women and stuff, like you're a heterosexual male. So ask God this: if you're a heterosexual male and you like women and you want a woman, hey God, given that I have these desires to copulate, to have a family and all that, to have kids, or to pursue women, should I get married? You should ask God. Because I think for the majority of people, marriage is probably the better thing you should do, as opposed to just making a bunch of single mothers and being a baby daddy. Sounds like a pathetic excuse of a man. A baby daddy. I mean, we all make mistakes, but if I had to put you on the status of single father versus someone who had a marriage intact, especially if it's just for like, all right, let me just rephrase what I'm saying. If you got a divorce and somebody hoodwinked you, or you had irreconcilable differences and you're a single dad, you're divorced, say, you're still in a better position than somebody who had a baby, who's a baby daddy. Baby daddies are worse than that. Doesn't matter what this, doesn't matter. It literally doesn't matter. Married man, divorcee, baby daddy. That's just how it is. I mean, does anybody disagree with me? I'm not going to say you're a pathetic excuse. I apologize for that. But some of them can be. Anyways. Let's see. All right, so let's look at the score, man. Let's look at the score, and I want to talk about the score. The latter half of the debate, or the latter portion of the debate, just became mudslinging. Insults thrown either way. I don't know if sometimes as melanated people, we can be a little bit heavy-handed with our jokes, and other people aren't going to take them that way. They're not going to. We can be heavy-handed and we're joking around, but other people are going to take it kind of like they're not going to take it the same way. So, with that being said, Greg started to lay it on thick at the end. But let's just tally it up, man. All right. 33 arguments to 23 arguments on 33 arguments for Andrew, 22 arguments for Greg. Rebuttals, 30 for Andrew, 17 for Greg. Fallacies, 1 for Andrew, 9 for Greg. Dodging, 0 for Andrew, 5 for Greg. I mean, I challenge anybody to find me a point where then we can abridge this scoreboard later on. I can abridge it. I'm fine to do that. Find it for me. Give me the timestamp. I will look at it in context, and I'll abridge the freaking scoreboard. But this is what I was able to capture. It's more than any y'all other niggas did. So now, this might seem good, but I've been noticing a little bit of a trend on Greg's arguments. They're not really that robust. They're weaker arguments. And a lot of them were kind of like arguments from the back foot or even ad hoc. That might even be another fallacy, but we don't have to. I mean, arguments can get like that sometimes, so we won't give it for either one. But if we just take out the ad hoc stuff where people are making arguments from really literally the back foot, you have to take away some of these points. So if you want to look at the arguments as a scoreboard, but let's pause real quick, because the arguments and the rebuttals, they kind of go hand in hand and they're fluid. But what I was trying to do was I was basically trying to say, all right, look, he's rebutting, but then he's on top of that adding an argument to basically have a rebuttal and then a response, which is another argument. So that's how I was counting a lot of those, basically most of them. From what I could see, Greg's rebuttals didn't really look that good. Some of them were like whatabouts and yeah, but it wasn't really anything penetrating to Andrew's arguments. What was the one fallacy Andrew did? I think it was some type of name call or something. It was an ad hom. I think the whole wife stuff, whatever. I mean, that might add another point to Greg, but at this point, it really doesn't matter. Greg is basically so far on the hole. He's taken so many points off of his score. Because if we just tally up rebuttals and arguments, Andrew still wins. 63 to 40. And the fallacies just take away. So 40, we'll just do a total. Well, I'm not going to do a total because I ain't doing all that damn. I can do it in post. Total 63 minus one fallacy, 62 on Andrew's side, 62 on Andrew's side. And then when you say, I guess I have to do it because I got to do it for the, no, I'm going to do it in post. On Greg's side, Greg didn't have a lot of arguments. And on top of that, they didn't really hit either because of the rebuttal on Andrew's side. 40 arguments and rebuttals total, but you had to take away 14 points. So Greg is sitting at 40 minus 14. That's 26. 62 to 26. This is basically a blowout. This is a literal blowout. A literal blowout. A literal blowout. 62 to 26. Andrew almost got triple the amount of points. I had kind of like a feeling it was going to go this way because Greg doesn't really do debates, but it was a complete wash. Andrew talks about how you can't get divorced if you don't get legally married. You will still go to divorce court if you are not married. Look up palimony. Let's see. Is palimony a divorce proceeding? Okay. It just says it right there, dude. It is a financial support claim. So I don't want things to be too semantic, but I can give you like, yeah, a woman can sue you for anything. Like, I'm pretty sure a palimony proceeding was what that one chick tried to get off of Israel Adesanya. Some type of palimony claim. Let me see. Was Israel Adesanya? Let me see how you spell the dude's name. UFC fighter Israel Adesanya. Did Israel Adesanya's girlfriend try and get palimony? Let's see. Bro, you are just counting occurrence and not the substance of what was being said. This is laughable. Andrew is wrong. Okay, how is he wrong, my friend? Palimony is heard in the family court just like divorces. So yes, you would go to divorce court, also palimony court. Is palimony a family court proceeding? Okay, so palimony is not a family court matter. Where are you getting your information from, dude? It literally says palimony is not a family court matter. Bro is just counting occurrences. Were you actually here this entire time? Were you actually here, Mr. Academic or Academics? Were you actually here this entire time? Because if I was missing the substance of the debate, please let me know. But if you're just going to be a Johnny come lately ass nigga and just say, oh, you're just doing this thing. Well, what have you done? Why don't you go and count the damn thing? And we can just compare results. Because, I mean, it's like, we got low IQ people in the chat thinking CJ won this somehow. I follow both regularly and Andrew cooked them. I mean, I follow both of them too. Look up if palimony cases are heard in family courts. I just asked, is it a family court proceeding? Are palimony cases heard in family court? I mean, I would guess it is. Okay, more treat them as some states treat them as a contract dispute in civil court, while others, like Jersey, establish a way. Okay, so sometimes it can be, but I mean, that's like saying, okay, so let me get this straight. Because if I ever deal with a woman, and I ever like share a utility bill, or she has a utility bill at my house, or if I sleep in the bed with a woman for a certain amount of years or months, therefore I'm basically at legal risk to be. Yeah, but I think what you're saying is kind of like a binary claim. Like, I get that, yeah, you can you're incurring more risk because she could file a court proceeding for palimony against you, but she could file a court proceeding against you if she believes she has the right to some of the work you guys did. If she helped give you meals while you started your business, she might sue you for that. Like, you can get sued for a lot of shit, dude. But like, it's more about mitigation, and Andrew was making the argument for mitigation. Greg clearly didn't really have any strong counter arguments towards his Andrew's mitigating claims. So the substance of the debate, I'm spot on with it, I believe. So, yo, James, I didn't hear you question because I'm watching your whole live. Oh, no, it's all good, Tin. Maybe I'm a little bit too heavy-handed from the beginning. No, it's cool, Tin. It's cool. I mean, I know we're all got stuff to do. Don't worry about it, my G. But I'm just a little bit abrasive sometimes. Yes, that is why Coach advocates no marriages, no cohabitation. Right. I mean, but it's, how do you have a family like that? You can't have a family without cohabitating with the woman who needs to breastfeed your kids. It's just really bizarre. And ultimately, let's be real, academics. The majority of people who follow CGA's work are just trying to jack off with women as a substitute. That's the majority result. Are you going to be a big boss and have a cigar? Sure, a lot of you are going to be successful, but the fact still remains, it just promotes a degenerate lifestyle. It doesn't outright say it, but that's going to be the consequence. We all know this. That's why it appeals to men, because it appeals to men to be able to hoard women, get status. What is a result of men getting more status and not much morals? Is just using women as a Kleenex. Come on. We all know this. Your whole view is already biased. Yeah, I admit I am biased, but you act like you're not. Biased for Andrew and you're not. Give credit to CJ's rebuttals. Okay, what rebuttal did I not mention? His rebuttals was pretty high. I've been doing whatever, man. You guys are just collapse. So any rebuttal he has is pointless. Andrew's whole argument collapses. Point to me, Tin, when one point in this argument, when Andrew, I'll give you like 5 minutes because you seem to know this. At what point did Andrew's entire argument collapse? If what Greg offered as a rebuttal stuck, at what point? Because that seems very hyperbolic. If non-state recognized marriage is subject to the putative spouse doctrine, then Andrew's argument is invalid. I don't know what you mean by that. Andrew stated the whole argument based from his own religious bubble, and I figure you give CJ a fair shake, but you're completely appealing to Andrew and not, okay. So you didn't give me an argument. You didn't give me one argument that Andrew mentioned. Academics tried to, but if no state recognized marriage is subject to the putative, I don't know what that means, Mr. Academic. Could you mind rephrasing that? Degenerate lifestyle claims are, yeah, the free agent lifestyle is a degenerate lifestyle because, oh wait, don't get married. And if you do, it's just, that's what it seems to be. Maybe that's not what it is. Exactly. What academics, you are the man. Work academics, you're the man. So Tin, what is exactly you trying to say? Let's see. When he said you can't end up in divorce court without marriage, his argument fell right there. No, it didn't. Because if we're talking about mitigation, Andrew still brought numbers that mitigates divorce regardless. Because think about it. If we grant you this argument, academics, if I grant you the argument that, okay, you're going to get shredded in the divorce court. So therefore, you're going to have the same outcome if you go to divorce. If you're married versus if you're not, same outcome, shredded. But if I can give you data that supports you're going to have less divorces in one hand than the other, and it's going to be a margin, a literal margin, then the argument still holds because we're ultimately talking about mitigation. So you're wrong again. The argument does not fall apart. Chat trolling you. I think you did an amazing job. I appreciate it, Ryan. I mean, I know. I'm sure I missed some stuff. I'm sure I missed some stuff, but that's what that's what the chat's for. I was definitely attentive the entire time. Again, it's LOL to say wisdom life is pure degeneracy, being anti. Andrew's married to a baby mama. Now Jabaz, since that's a literal ad hominem. Let's just say he has a baby mama. And let's just say he's a simp. Let's just say he's pussy whipped. Is what he said incorrect? Because you realize it's not like an actual argument, right? I life best, and I want to tell you how to life because your life worse. LOL. I mean, shit. Hey, I appreciate Ademics and 10. I appreciate you guys being on the opposite position. All right, man. So let me ask you a question, Mr. Sense. If I'm a bad person, but I teach you good math, is the math bad? Because two can be true at the same time. You realize that, right? CGA. These women are 304s. Also CHGA. Go to the JUCO and get more Keylights and Linglings. Kayleys and Linglings. Yeah, pretty much. Divorce court is the family court. Andrew's non-state marriage would be subject to the family court. Andrew said this was not possible. His position is factually wrong. Even if we grant you that, the ecclesiastical marriages and even the Christian marriages, depending on certain criteria, it's still less than that of the secular. So if we're talking about mitigation, ultimately his point still holds, even if we grant you that. It wasn't an argument, just a statement. Laugh and love. Hey, if you guys could, I appreciate everybody in the chat. If you guys could like the video, I would appreciate it, man. Hey, even if I disagree with you guys, and you guys are busting my balls, I appreciate you guys coming in here. You know what I mean? Y'all could be anywhere but here. I'm wondering if I'm gonna do a video on this. It's gonna be a freaking bitch to sift through, but I think it's clear who won, guys. And even that, the fact that I'm gonna pick a side is gonna make people mad. I think that's pretty hilarious as well. So I'm gonna give you a couple more moments for you guys. If you guys have anything else you want to add? Yo, dope live stream. G, can't wait for the next one. Shut up, German. Shut up. I like the video doing a long time ago. I appreciate a different perspective. Hey, since I appreciate your perspective as well. But like the other guy said, I'm not sure if it's you. I do have a bias. I'm a Christian. I don't like sticking my dick in random women or women who I'm not gonna be married to. I'm married. I'm freaking, what else? I am conservative. So I lean more right. I think Coach Greg is on the right too. So there's some differences we can have, but also some similarities. He doesn't have numbers to prove less divorce with his form of marriage. Also, if the whole purpose was to reduce risk, he should prescribe Amish religion since it is the least divorce than his sect. Wait, if he doesn't have proof of the numbers, he showed them. The Orthodox Christian marriages was 17 to 20% divorce rate. It showed it. And that was the moderator who pulled it up. Where is Jesus Christ? Well, if you're saved, Jesus Christ is inside you. If you're asking for like the physical, literal, or he's literally inside you as in his spirit. But if you're talking about up in heaven, that's where he's at, I believe. But shoot, man, you guys got any more questions, man? What questions y'all got, man? Or you got any better arguments than that? Demics, where your arguments at, man? Them is not good ones. Where are you at? Yeah, if you're saved, Jesus Christ is inside you. But where are the arguments at? What you guys got? What else y'all got? Yeah, only if Jesus died for you. That's correct. Whether you believe it or not is up to you. Let's see. The numbers are based on actual devote, including a marriage court. Andrew is telling people to get married without the state. Yeah, but it would logically follow that it would. Okay. I think there's a category issue with what you're saying. If you're saying divorces, if we don't know if you're saying we don't know the amount of separated marriages after what we would call divorce in that sense, because perhaps there's no data on marriages that don't have a marriage contract getting divorces. Let me ask chat. Let's ask chat real quick. Is there any US data on people who separate that were never legally married? Well, ultimately, I shouldn't have to argue Andrew's position for him, right? But I'm just curious. But she's probably covered married individuals, e.g. over U.S. Census Bureau marriage and divorce topic provides a marital status. Never married, married, divorced, separated. What isn't clearly available? A robust statistic for a percentage of cohabitating. Yeah, it's just. I think Andrew's argument though was you can logically deduce that or induce that. He wasn't able to demonstrate it. I think he did once. I just don't really remember, but let's see what else, man. Hey man, you need to read a. I'm not answering any more of your questions, P. I can't really. I'm not really like a teacher, so you're probably gonna have to take those up with the Lord. You're gonna have to pray and ask those questions of God. This isn't really the topic of the discussion. The number would be this sect with documented divorces, and you would have to somehow count as non-state recognized marriages. Yeah. If you're Christian, though, you should check out Ammon Hillman or Danny Jones, a PhD in Greek that translates the original Greek. Yeah, Ryan, I'm not really a Greek dude. I don't follow that whole Greek stuff. Bro, I am cooking you. Just admit Andrew is wrong. No, I don't think Andrew's wrong, man. Would you then repent? Hey, P, I'm not answering any more theology questions. Just get saved. If you're not, then pray about it. I like the video. Thank you for being willing to defend your position. Yeah, Demics. No, I'm definitely. Hopefully, our conversation was fruitful to you, at least a little bit. I agree. You're not a teacher. That it'd be Jesus Christ who is living in everyone. It's okay. But you said you were a Christian and not degenerate as others you say. So I asked. Well, yeah. I don't think I'm a degenerate. I'm married, not a fornicator. Let's see. Y'all got any more questions that aren't biblical? P? Any more non-theology questions, man? Any more freaking, I guess I should probably ask you guys some questions. The original Bible texts were written in Greek. He translates them correctly in context of the words. Man, I don't want to get into a Bible discussion right now, man. I don't want to get into a Bible discussion right now. You guys watch any other debates recently? I tuned into Rob Noor's debate that he had with that bald atheist dude. But it was real quickly. It was on my way to in and out. Let's see. Yeah, it was fruitful in highlighting your non-responses on how Andrew was wrong. Shut up. Dickhead. Well, guys, I think I'm going to wrap it. Up. I appreciate you guys coming by. I should be posting soon, but I say that all the times. You'll just have to wait and see what I got next. I appreciate the support and the audience. I'll catch you guys on the next time. Peace, peace, peace. All right, I'll read one more, damn it. Do you acknowledge Andrew was wrong about not going to family court for not state recognized murder? Do you acknowledge palimony? I do. I know palimony exists. I agree, and I agree that a woman can file suit on you on that. I agree with that. Do you acknowledge Andrew was wrong about not going to family court for non-state recognized? Well, it's kind of half and half, but I guess he was wrong on that. I could level with you on that. Debating a Christian on the original translation of the Bible. I'll check out Ammon Hillman. As long as he's not going to be this freaking Greek secret knowledge scholar. All right, guys. I'll catch you guys later. Y'all take care. Oof. 10 hours.